Is Stacy, Isaac, or someone else here to represent?
Hello. Hi, John. This is Laurel Perez with Suzanne Elledge Planning and Permitting Services. We've been the agent representing the project. I expected Jack Kiesel from Kiesel Designs, the landscape architect, to be on the call to present the landscape plans for final approval. Not sure, I'm not seeing him, but.
Okay, well, Laurel, we have 6 items.
Right.
Keep it rocking and rolling.
Yep. So I understand that you've seen this a couple of times. It's agendized for final approval. It's a project that involves largely landscape and hardscape. There's no change to the existing residence. I know they've included the final lighting plans in the package.
Can I take over here, Laurel?
Sure, that would be great. Thank you.
So Claire, did you have a chance to review item C1-1639 Fernald?
Yeah, yes, I did.
And do you have any comments?
No, I don't have any comments. My notes to myself was looks good.
Okay, and David, can you go to PDF page 6, please?
So
Okay, so Laurel, you're not an expert on this. I don't expect you to be, but the guardrails shown throughout this project are 36 inches. That's greater than 30 inches to adjacent grade and will have to be 42 inches. And that is going to affect the aesthetics of this project. And I'm not really excited about approving this with this seemingly minor, but when you actually get down and get dirty with those handrails and how it affects what people see, because when you're sitting and you look out, 42 is almost exactly the height that you're sitting there.
Okay.
Also, it's going to require both what's called a guardrail and a handrail at the stairs. That's not shown correctly, but the more important, and I think I could work on that, the more important issue is, to me, PDF 15, please. There are 185 pages on this. There is a lot of overhead lighting on this, tree mounted lighting, which you may be aware, Laurel. I think others in your office are, that we never approve projects with this much lighting. We're
Right.
trying to maintain and preserve the low intensity residential something or other as a community. And this is right at the end of that walk or that water channel.
Yeah.
It's going to be lit up like Los Angeles. And I will not approve it, nor will I recommend that it gets approved. So I don't know what you want to do about that, but I cannot approve this plan as presented. Your comments, please.
Okay, that understandable. I can see the issue. And so what we can do is work with the landscape architect to eliminate a significant number of, it's the overhead lights in particular, John, is that the issue?
Yeah, we're trying to keep all lighting in Montecito so that it feels like Montecito. It doesn't change. There has been tremendous pressure to have more and more and more and more and more and more and more lighting, site lighting, and we're trying to do everything we can to maintain and preserve the semi-rural, low-intensity community. And the lighting, we feel, is just not doing that. And given the prominence of this from the beach, I think that we want to get rid of most, if not all of that overhead lighting.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
would it be okay with you if we continue it for 2 weeks, please?
Yes, fine with me. And I'll talk to the architects about it. We'll get back to you at the plan that hit the mark.
Okay, thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Be good,
Take
Laura.
care.
Okay,
Okay.
item C2. Yes, are you okay with that?
yeah, I'm okay. I'm just kind of, I mean, I didn't realize that was that way. I thought.
Oh, it's littered.
Pathway.
John, we have a hand up.
It's littered with lighting. Okay, item C2, the right.
John?
Yes.
I'm sorry, we have a hand up that went up during that.
Oh, I'm sorry, please. My apologies.
Oops.
Hi.
Yang Zhang, I apologize if I mashed your name. Did you wish to address us, please?
Yitong is on the architecture team. So I'm not sure. It sounds like she's having a hard time.
Unable to unmute. Laurel, we're under a lot of pressure. Can you, for time, could you contact them cell phone or something, and then we'll let you come back in if you want?
Okay, will do. I'll give her a
Okay,
call.
thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, item, but yes, please come back if you need to.
Okay,
Item C2, the right of way south of 1950 North Jameson Lane. Is there anybody here for that, please?
Not yet.
Okay, Claire, did you have a chance to review that?
Yes, I did. I noticed there was two from preliminary final. so-
Right. And they did not have colors, which we're trying to
Well, I
do,
thought they did, I thought they had, at the hearing that they said.
but it's not on the drawings.
Oh, well, okay, yeah, because at the hearing, they said that they were going to match how all the other polls had been
And I
done.
agree, and it didn't show up on the drawings. I don't
Okay.
have problems with it. Okay, shall we try to make a motion to match the?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, let's just do that, I mean, because I mean,
so I'm gonna say with John, with the chair or designee to review the drawing, the colors.
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, we are on for preliminary approval, which we are permitted to do at the consent level. If and only if we ask at this time, if there's anybody that would like to address the board on item C2, right of way south of 1950 North Jameson Lane.
No
Is there
requests.
anybody? Okay, so we will ask that question again at the full meeting here in about 20 minutes, half an hour. And, but we're gonna recommend a preliminary and final with the colors to be reviewed by the chair or his designee with the plan, okay? Item C3, 1260 channel. Ken, I see you're here, please. Okay, would you like? So Claire, you had a chance to review these drawings, please?
Yes,
Okay. There is a public comment letter, if I may be permitted. Have you seen that, Ken?
Yes, Ken Minot, Appleton Partners, Steve Aldana, Appleton Partners. Yes, we have.
And
And we would comply with all of the ADA handicap.
are you
accessibility.
complying with all
Yes.
of it?
Yes,
Okay. How do you get from the kitchen out to your, without going down those steps, please?
we have a ramp.
You do have a ramp
Yeah.
over on the east side?
Yes.
Okay, very
Yes.
good. That's number one. Number two. Can we talk?
Sure.
I moved here in 1977.
So did I. Same year.
The
September-
Biltmore
no,
has
actually-
always been open, gracious, and inviting to everybody walking around on the perimeter, allowing them to walk in.
Correct.
My,
That will maintain that way. The gates
my
are there,
sense of those
only closed
gates,
at night.
my sense of those gates with the self-closing hardware is that they will always be closed and
No.
that they will, that's. how
That's
do you-
that's not the intention. They're, in fact, they're there just for security late at night.
How, and then you move out of town, I move out of town. How's that maintained in 23 years from now? How do we know that it's not going to start getting closed off and start being more restrictive? It's the first step in a long route, please.
That's not the intention of the gates. That's not the intention of the hotel. I mean, obviously, it's open to the public. You can drive right in. There's no gates across the parking lot. There's no gates across the entry drives. You walk in right there. All the gates are open at the back off of Hill Road. It's just that those two gates at that lawn, they want to put some ceremonial gates there so they can lock that off late at night for security.
There are other gates up closer beyond the Coral Casino that doesn't have a gate. So if you just go around the arc, there's
You
the,
could- Yeah,
so
it's about parking and where people are and who's parking there late at night and It's a request by the operators. It's not intended to lock off the public. It's intended to just have some measure late at night. They will be
Clear.
left open during the day.
And I'm not willing to vote for it, so, please turn on your mic.
Because I did, because we talked about this on site and these are, from what I could see from the,
David.
these are existing gates.
No,
No,
And-
no.
they're existing openings.
without columns, right?
No, the columns are there.
The
I mean,
col, yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
the columns are there.
yeah. So it's
Yeah.
only the change of the.
Keep
the
going.
metal
Adding the,
part
wrought-
of the
adding
gate.
the wrought iron, correct.
Yeah, the gates are already there.
Well, the
It's the
walkway
gate
through.
design,
Yeah,
not that, it's the gate design.
Yeah, the walkway is there and you can go through there.
I think it's down from there. But
and
let
the-
it
and the
refresh.
pole- And there's the side things, and all they're doing is putting metal gates on
That's-
what's already existing.
And
Right,
I'm not
those two
willing-
locations.
and I'm not willing to vote for it. So,
Okay,
right there, right there.
there it is, right there.
So would you be willing to remove those gates, or shall I take this to the full board, which I'm capable and ready to do, and have them decide it? I don't think any of us knew that these gates were part of this plan. I think they showed up here for the first time.
No. that's
Okay, well, I
that's
was
not
not aware of them,
Okay,
so.
that's fine. That's fine. Obviously, we need to get going on the more major parts of this project. So if you want to cross those out at this time. we're
Would that
fine.
be acceptable to
Yeah,
you?
that's fine. We'll cross
Okay.
those out.
So did you have any, thank you, Ken. So would you have any comments about the rest of it, please, Claire?
We did bring a picture of ornate gates that are similar.
No, no, and
Next
they,
to the pool.
yes, exactly. No,
Yes.
no, no, thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, like, see, right there. So.
Yeah.
We have 5 items.
Right, no, I understand.
So are
that,
you
but
okay
the
with
thing
this?
that Oh, yeah, the one thing that I was going to say about. Appreciated, the minimal landscaping that was proposed around, and how you did it all, this one, like all in the same boxwood, very, very cool. So those are my comments.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it was very simple and therefore elegant as
Yeah.
well. So, and I thought that the detailing down through with the glass in that section, I think it's a new section this time, that really shows it was quite well done. So
Thank you.
now what about reflectivity on those glass panels? Have you thought about that?
Well, they have the glass panels now and there hasn't been an objection. Obviously, they need to be cleaned and maintained.
And they will be, I'm sure.
Yes. But we certainly wouldn't want to make them a matte finish or any of that. It's something that you're going to see through and
Okay.
as you would imagine, there's a lot of dew and moisture that keeps someone busy.
Yeah. A robot. Okay,
There
so-
you go.
I am prepared to recommend to the full board approval as submitted with the removal of the iron gates. Is that acceptable?
That's acceptable. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. That will be done. Wait 1 second. Are you on for final? So we don't have to ask about.
Yeah.
Public.
Yeah, and we'll make a new submission then for the gates or how?
No, just, it's gonna be, yeah. Yeah, have you?
We'll
have
work
not
through our
been to the
plan.
Department yet.
Oh, yeah, we're in the building department. We're ready to get a,
And if
Yeah.
they commented about the Wheelo counts.
oh, they've commented about everything and we have all our answers ready to go. So
Okay.
we're just trying to make our way through you folks and then we're back in.
Okay,
And,
Ken, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your help. and,
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Item C4, please, trying to keep this thing moving.
Yeah, well, that's the Robinson, the Robin.
Okay, so 817 Romero Canyon Road, Robin, are you here or somebody from your office, please? Okay, did you see anything? Okay, so what we had basically 2 comments that the Wheelo calculations were not done and how they responded was to give us the entire site's Wheelo calculations, which were well underneath the required. water use.
Oh, okay, because I did do look at, I looked, it looked to me like it was, everything was fine, but
Yes, it was.
I didn't actually,
Yes, it was.
you know.
And I actually read their notes, so, and then we asked for a color specification, which they did provide and which looked acceptable, so I'm ready to approve this as submitted. Is there anybody that would like to chat with us about item C4, please? 817 Romero Canyon Road,
No requests.
okay. Okay, Bill Wolf, are you here, please? Okay. So let's give it a shot and see where we go. Would you like to, is Mary here by any chance? Martha, excuse me. Okay,
Where are we? We're on number 5,
yeah,
the orchard. Oh, okay.
635 Orchard. This may take a couple of minutes. Okay. Basically, have you had a chance to review it?
Yeah, I reviewed
And
it.
you're good.
Yeah, I'm good, you know, I mean, and the thing is that I really appreciate is that they had listened to your request about the upper thing and that they've added those sliders for light, you know, which was something that you had brought up at the hearing, was that there was too much light, and they actually put in sliding things so that at night that it isn't going to spray light out.
Okay,
From what I could see from the plans, that those had been added.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
so we have concept review, no vote. Preliminary review, which we have a vote, and is the so-called big one, and
Yes.
then we have this. And what we do is we get down and get dirty with this one, okay? Including PDF page 11, please. My understanding of this design has always been that those windows are offset from the exterior towards the interior. These details have all of the windows sitting on the exterior face, which means this building is now extremely flat.
Mm-hmm,
It doesn't have that depth, which very much surprised me.
mm-hmm.
Please chat with me about why you did that, please.
I always had planned for it to be on the exterior.
That's not what the rendering read to me.
Oh,
It read to me that it was sitting, that there was that shadow line. And to me, it makes a remarkable difference from being sort of an Orange County office building to being a more refined Montecito modern expression.
well, I would certainly be open to recessing them.
I think that it's critical.
Okay.
It's not insignificant to me.
Well, I see your point, and I do agree. I think it would create a nicer shadow line.
Okay,
I'm certainly amenable to that.
okay, very good. Then PDF page 12, please. It's not as if I haven't looked at these drawings. Okay, so David, down at the bottom of this drawing, right in the middle, there's a detail right there in the middle, right? With not as much passion, you're showing a cap flashing with a drip.
I don't want the drip on there, so
You want, what I would love to see is everything go up over the top
Yes.
and put it on the back. side.
I didn't catch that. Yes, you are absolutely right. There is no, and the other thing is I want to actually have the top of the wall slope back towards the roof so you don't get any dripping.
Any of the staining.
Correct.
Okay, PDF, very good. We're on board.
Yeah,
here.
we are.
Item, PDF page 14, please. Okay, so PDF page 14. It was curious to me why this window stepped back and the others were stepping forward. You've got stone here, the reveal, but it seems to me that you could use that same kind of a detail on the other.
Well, I agree with you, and that's, I wanted to have the window pulled back at the stone,
Okay,
and I agree that it makes sense to pull it back
okay,
during for the rest of the project.
okay, and then PDF page 16, please. Lower left-hand detail, please. This is really kind of architect to architect. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I think that you're gonna get water, you're gonna get water
Yes.
weeping up that wall.
Are you talking about where I have the shoe?
Right there.
Okay,
From our point of view, I don't think it matters. It's on the inside. We don't see it. The community has no benefit one way or the other. But you might want to take a look at that detail.
I certainly will.
You know, I think you want to separate it so you can keep your water dry, your stucco dry.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I have to have a meeting with my draftsman, I see.
Okay, so with that, Claire, do you have any comments? Chris, you drawings look very good from my point of view.
Yeah, and like, yeah, like I said, really appreciated that.
Yeah. I also think it adds a nice element to the architecture. It adds more warmth, more wood, breaks it up. Yeah. Yeah.
When I went through all the drawings,
Yeah.
I went, oh, look, oh, that's cool, that's
Thank you.
nice, you know.
Bill, we got it taken care of, so thank you. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I'm ready to recommend final approval
Okay.
as submitted with the window parapet details to be reviewed by the planner in consultation with me.
Okay,
And so you're going to be able to get through, you don't have to come to the full board. And if you just do what I think you're going to do, it's going to be like
going to,
about a 1 second review for me. Okay?
absolutely.
Okay,
And I,
good.
again, I do appreciate your comments. I think it'll be a much nicer house.
I think so
Yeah.
too. Okay, item C6, 1420, East Mountain Drive. And this is on for both preliminary and final. Okay, is Leslie there, please, or someone else for this project? Anybody online? Okay.
Hello, I'm here online, but I believe there's a team in person also.
Okay, well, what I'd like to do, if possible, let's go to PDF page 17, please. In the upper center drawing there, it says a 6-foot-high retaining wall. I did not see that anywhere on the drawings. And I don't know how that wall would be finished so that it feels like it's part of this very rural barn, something or other. Could you tell me? I couldn't find that on the drawings anywhere.
I'm sorry, is this is for
Isn't that
9:35?
the wall that's right behind the building? That
I
goes
don't know
off?
where, I don't know where it is.
Well, let's go to,
I couldn't find it, Claire. So it,
no, but I think I looked at that wall on the drawings. That's what I'm saying. If
Okay.
You're saying you can't find it. We were looking at details. I'm saying, let's go back to the site plan or the, you know, so that, because I think that wall runs right behind on out to the.
and when we looked at the sections through there, there is a section through there. Down farther, please, David. There's sections, keep going. See, right there, it doesn't show. There's just got a little tiny wall. And then if you go down a little bit farther, it doesn't show on those either. So it was unclear to me why these smaller walls, I think, are fine, but up to 6 feet scares me a little bit. It looks like it's, you know, I'm not sure what we're gonna end up with. Are you still there, Leslie? Leslie, did we lose you?
David, can you go up so we can see overhead? For some reason. Okay, there. So that zoom in there.
Yeah, you see, I don't see it. I looked there. You don't see it.
Well, see, okay, what I see that little leg that's coming off the back of the building, that's that's the wall, I think.
Well, why isn't it finished? And why doesn't it show up on the drawing?
Well, it's right there on.
No, on the elevations. We should see it
Oh,
on the elevations.
okay, got it. Well, that's, this, I mean, because I had looked at this, because there was very little landscaping, and I did notice that there was a wall right there, right there.
Leslie, are you still with us, please? Yes.
I'm sorry, I misspoke earlier. I thought this was Mariposa. This is Mountain, so I'm not part of this project. I apologize.
This is not your project.
No, no.
Okay. I would like to continue this till we get this clarified. And the comment to the planner, the community, well, I guess I can make them, we are on for preliminary and final. I think we just continue it.
Just take it, either continue it or take it to the full. Take it
No,
to
no,
the
no, no.
the agenda before that we have.
No, let's continue it to the next consent item with the applicant to clarify that. And also, the call outs on the light fixture, one of them has amber glass, the other one has clear glass, and I'm not convinced that it's night sky compliant in the first place. So, yeah, so we can get that clarified as well. Okay, so we had 30 minutes, we used 27 of it. Very nice. So that's it for right now. We have a couple of administrative items before we get to your item. It's more comfortable to sit in those chairs than up front. But when you're ready. Yeah.
Oh, this is, oh, this is, oh, these are the things and stuff.
I'd like to call to order the May 18th Montecito Board of Architecture Review full board agenda meeting. First item is public comment. Anybody here that would like to address the board on an item that's not on our agenda today, please?
No request to speak.
Item 2, agenda status report. David, anything?
Just something minor. I got a request to make a minor adjustment to the grading totals for item number 6. It should be,
And you will bring that up at item 6.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and did you want to report any absences that we might have?
Mr. Mendro will be absent for today's meeting.
Excellent. Anything else, please?
That was it.
Okay, minutes of May 4th. Anybody have any comments, please? Nothing here. Okay, anybody else? Okay, item number 1. We got a letter or communication concerning these minutes, requesting that we note that the applicant described the floor to floor at 9 feet, but the drawing said 10 feet. And therefore, if we'd like to see it reduced 18 inches, perhaps because we thought it was 9 feet, it should actually be reduced 2 feet 6 inches. I don't think we have the authority to put that in our minutes. We are here to, the minutes are here to describe what happened at the meeting. And if she'd like to make that comment when we re-review this, I think that that's possible. And if the planner would like to send that comment along, I think that that's possible. But I don't think we can change it based on that. But having said all of that, I'd like to add item number 7. On a straw vote, MBAR members felt that lowering the second story 18 inches would be acceptable. I believe that happened at the meeting. Does everybody agree with that? No, we're on comment, item 1, comment 7. I'm adding the comment.
Chair, I'd like to make a comment on this item.
Yes, please.
I mean, it's actually, it's unfortunate that this came up because we, rely on the applicant to present comprehensive and correct full presentation.
Yes,
And maybe, the applicant didn't know, which wouldn't be a good thing, or we were intentionally misled. So one of the other reasons, but coming down to that, my comment on that we are looking at just the overall height reduction. That's how I see it. I mean, when we saw the story pool, we think that if we look 18 inches might be better. So because of that, I think that that's how I see it and how they want to do it. What first floor, what second floor is not really, at least my concern.
okay, so the purpose of minutes is to correctly and fully describe what happened at the previous meeting. That's it, nothing more. Do people agree that we also had a straw vote and that we, as a group, we thought that lowering it 18 inches would be acceptable? So we should add that comment. David, perhaps you should chat with the applicant, with the planner, so that they can be aware of this issue that's come up. But it's not something to show up in the notes. Yes, please, on mic, please.
The drawings don't match the story poles apparently, but if we said 18 inches lower, that's in reference to the story poles, correct?
Fine. We're not
So,
debating
so
this
we need,
project.
we need to make sure that they match.
I
on
think we're gonna have a
drawings.
chat about this when they come back, right?
Yeah,
We're gonna have a chat about it when they come back. What we're doing now is trying to find out what actually happened at the meeting that we can write about.
okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's fine, no problem. Item number 4. Comment number 2. One member suggested studying architecture from the mid-century. It's called mid-century modern, not mid-1950s. Okay, so if we could change 1950s to the word mid-century modern, I think that that's more accurate since it was my comment. Okay. Item number 5. This is that very large, single-story, 18 feet, 22 feet. And Tip made a comment which did not show up here. I'd like to add a comment number 6. One member thought story poles might be needed. Okay. Item number 5, I'm adding a number 6. Okay. And that is all I have. Is there any other comments, please?
Mr. Chair, if I could ask a clarifying question. For the minutes on item number 1, was there a consensus to add item 7 as you stated?
I believe there was. Does everybody agree or not? Yes. 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 Okay, everybody. Good thing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Okay, I would like to move for approval of the May 4th minutes as amended is my word, not corrected. It's amended. I'll second that. Excellent. Is there any further discussion, please? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now. MBAR members informational briefings. Anybody stepping down? Something else, please?
Yes, I'll be recusing myself on item 1, 2, and on 7.
Excellent.
1, 2. and 7.
Anybody else, please? Any other conflicts? Yes, Lyda?
Yes, I'll be recusing myself on item number 5.
5. I don't see. Okay. Members of the board, I know many of you talk to David and I sometimes get copied on that. If you could let us know before the meeting. Just so we can keep track of quorum and things like that, I would appreciate it. Okay. Anybody else? Anything else there? Okay. Staff update, Kimberly, David.
Nothing, excuse me, nothing for me.
Nothing for me either. Thank you.
Okay, Montecito consent agenda. We did have 6 items on the agenda today. We would like to take item number C1, which is 1639 Fernald Point. That was a project we saw quite a while ago that had right at the end of where the stream comes down onto the beach. Right there, you can see it. The applicant did not show up. Laurel Perez from SEPS did show up. We're going to continue this 2 weeks to have them take a much harder look at the lighting, site lighting. And the handrail detail was at 36, not 42. And I think on that particular design, it seems insignificant, but I think it's going to be important. So I'd like to recommend that we move this to the next consent item. Is there next? The next agenda, is there a second, please? Any further discussion, please? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, so item number C2 was the new gas pole that's gonna be used to transmit their information. And it was fine, except they didn't have the colors on it. So I'd like to approve, even though they're represented, they're gonna have it right, they didn't show up on the drawings.
And John, they're actually present now as the, and online.
Could you let him speak, please? We believe that the colors will be correct, sir. We don't have any questions. It just did not show up on the drawings. So we'd like to move for final approval as submitted with the applicant to provide the planner with the proposed colors for review by the MBA chairman.
Yes, hi, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Tim Mahoney, SoCal Gas Company, that works for us. Sorry, I've got a
That's okay.
sore foot here, so I'm limping kind of slow here with the tendonitis. I believe my crew is calling in right now as well.
We're done,
You're done, okay,
but we need those colors on the drawings.
okay, you need them right away.
No,
No,
you don't get a permit till we get the colors on the drawing. So it's up to you,
understood. Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Nancy.
that. Thank you.
Okay, so I'd like to, yes,
This is Katie Null, the planner. I just wanted to clarify if you wanted to see those plans with the colors, or if you just wanted to make sure that we, the planner, we get it. We get the colors and put it on the
Katie,
plans.
if you've got it, if they want to match, it's some kind of a brown color, I can't
Right.
remember. And as long, if you just let me know that they did that, I'm good, or if you want me to review it, I'm good with that too,
Oh, okay, sounds good.
okay? So
Thank
I'd
you.
like to move for final approval with the applicant to provide the planner with the colors for the project. And I guess that's good enough. Is there a second, please? Any further discussion, please? All those in favor? Aye.
This is
All-
John, preliminary as well. Do we need?
Public comment. Thank you so much. Yes, is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number C2? It's a pole in the right of way. It's south of 1950 North Jamison Lane. Please.
No requests.
Okay, now I'd like to make a motion for final approval for the applicant to provide the colors to the planner. Is there a second, please? I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item number C3, the
Thank you.
Biltmore. They, there was a comment letter about making sure that the project was handicapped accessible, which Ken brought, was sitting here today, and he said, yes, of course. I was concerned that the gates that were being proposed were gonna start closing off the Biltmore and asked that they be removed so that the Biltmore still has that same open, inviting to the entire community aspect to it, and Ken said that he would be willing to do that. With that change, I'd like to move for final approval with the applicant to remove the iron gates from the project as submitted. Approval, is there a second, please? Is there any discussion about that, please? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, item C4, this is the project, the little maintenance that Robin Donaldson had. This is more of an energy shed. They did not have the colors nor the reloc calcs in the previous meeting. They do now. I think the project is complete at this point, and I'd like to move for final approval as submitted for item C4, 817 Romero Canyon Road. Is there a second, please? Any further discussion, please? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, item C5, 635 Orchard. This is a relatively modern house, two-story house on Orchard. And they turned in the complete set of drawings, including having the windows mounted on the exterior face, which I thought completely changed the character of the building. And Martha was here and we chatted about it. And she said, you know, I think that that sounds like a good idea to move it back in. There was also a cat flashing with a drip on it. And she said, I did not catch that. I don't want that. I'm going to change that. So she was very amenable to all of those changes that I thought would make it more of a Montecito home rather than an Orange County office building. So with that, I'd like to move for final approval with the applicant to provide revised parapet and window and door details to be reviewed by the MBAR chair in consultation with the planner. Is there a second for that motion, please?
I'll second.
Any further discussion, please? All in favor? Aye. Should also be noted that they did add some screening, some of those windows to help knock down the. So I think it's gonna be quite a nice project, actually.
John, for this next item, the architect is here.
Okay, so where, online? Okay, so item number C5, C6, I could not find where on the plan the 6-foot high retaining wall is, please. Can you tell me where that is?
I'm sorry, I wasn't ready for our turn because when you have the agenda up on the screen, it's not scrolling. Just FYI. You're asking for a 6-foot retaining wall.
No, the details on page PDF 17. Where is it in the project? I couldn't find it. That wall right there, where is that sucker?
It's on the south side of the barn. There is between the barn and the retaining wall, there's a walkway on the south side. You're better off looking at the next sheet, which is the enlarged site plan. So if you are looking at the footprint of the new barn, note A1203 denotes a walkway. It's on the south side of that. It's referenced on the actual floor plan, I believe, or on the sections.
I don't see it on the sections. Can you show us where that is, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Last time I was on here, I think I was driving. If you look at sheet A320.
Do you know what PDF number that is, please?
Sheet 8 of the 23 sheet set.
Sheet 8.
Yes. Section B. It references that walkway on the south side as item 6 on S, I believe 5.1.
It's on the left-hand side. See,
So that varies in height as the grade falls away from west to east. It becomes tallest on the east, which would be masked from East Mountain Drive by the existing stables.
no guardrail.
Correct,
30
because it will, right.
No guardrail over 30 inches.
Yes, I understand.
So it's a guardrail plus a 6-foot high wall. At certain locations, please.
I don't believe, I don't believe so. I believe what happened is the retaining wall below grade increases in height. That is not the actual height. He's given 2 conditions where it's up to 6 feet, I think, and then below 6 feet. So the architecturals govern over the structurals relative to height.
Members of the board, this is behind that wall. So there's a street, a hill, a house or something. I'm not sure what that is. There's an area between it with this retaining wall, and then there's the new barn. So that's the sequence on the way up.
That's right. And there's landscaping on that slope.
Way off the street.
It's off the street, but it's an exposed wall. I would normally expect landscaping, and I didn't see it. for this.
Mr. Chair, I actually myself looked right, and there was no landscaping proposed ever for this project, as far as I could tell, going
Okay,
through the file.
If you look at the final sheet of the set, sheet 23, that was requested by the planner. The only landscaping we're proposing is to match the existing ground cover that's on the south side. And it's that slope between the retaining wall and the existing retaining wall. It's right there. The darker green is the proposed landscaping, and it's just a ground cover to match existing.
Leslie, we do need to keep moving. May I please ask the board, are people okay with this project? It's not as well defined as most projects, or would we like them to come back and clarify this, please? Members of the board?
I'm gonna have to admit, I am not familiar with this, so
I'm okay with this project. I mean, because I actually looked at it after the site visit, and it's very simple, and
Members
Yeah.
of the board? So
I'm
that's
okay with
Claire.
it.
Bill's question mark. Claire's okay. Tip? Robert? Okay, and Elida? Would somebody please make a motion for approval as submitted?
I'll make a motion as approval as submitted.
Is there a second, please? Is there a second, please? I second.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor?
I,
All those opposed? Nay, I think it's an incomplete set of drawings. I think it's a nice design. I think it's an incomplete set of drawings. Thank you. We are now up to the full meeting.
yeah.
So here we go. Item number 1, we have the applicants at the table. We did a site visit on this today. Bill is out for this and the next one. Item 2. Okay, our previous comments were site visit and story polls required. We had that visit today. Provide MBA copy of the historical report, which we did get. Concerns regarding amount of paving, please restudy. Provide landscape plan, which we've got. One member expressed concerns regarding the formality of the design and architectural style and its compatibility with the Montecito planning area. So with those comments, we did have a site visit. The floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. We have addressed the concerns.
Is your mic on?
Hello, yeah. We put the story polls up, and you saw those today. Some of the members were able to see that. We did provide the historic report. Jennifer got that to the board. Mark is here. You can, he'll address the concerns about the paving restudy. And the landscape plan was on there, was submitted.
Is that the end of your presentation?
Yeah, I can, yeah.
We asked you to, or I asked you to consider saving 2 trees. One, eliminate a limb. The other one is to save the tree and to change the design. Did you have a chance to look at that?
Yes,
Do you have
we
any
did.
comments? Please.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, Mark.
I can address the issue of the tree. So we, after our meeting, we went back and looked at the tree again, and we also looked at our building. I think we can do a couple things to save that tree. Number one,
There are 2 trees, so
Yeah,
let's be
let's-
so I'm
clear.
talking about the really
Which tree?
large one that
Where on
is
the
at
site?
the
plan?
side
Let's
of the
get-
house.
yeah.
Yep.
For me, just this, obviously, this project is very complex, and so, I mean, having the site visit, now let's point to exactly the trees.
Yeah, I go up there and point to it. Pointer. Oh, great. So it's the tree that's right there.
So it's the smaller of the 2 trees.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And what the we are able, I believe, because the ridge line is below the upper canopy, to basically remove one limb on it. We've also looked at trying to take and do a special footing that would span over the root ball in that area. So we probably put in a pile on either side of it and do a grade beam that crosses it. And then right now we were proposing a stair. I think we can take that stair and relocate it so that underneath the base of the tree, we can just have a gravel walk so that we're not putting impervious material there. We can sort of re-scoot that walkway around it. So yes, we will keep the tree. In our next submittal, I will give you a detailed plan of actually how we're going to keep and protect that tree.
Okay, so that's one. There's a second tree at the end of the master suite.
The other one is right there. We are proposing to take that down. That tree is really asymmetrical. I think because of its weight, it's in danger of coming down at some point in time. And so we'd like to continue on the path of removing it, but replacing it with new oak trees.
Okay.
And the last oak tree was sort of right over here. We looked at that at the end. I don't want to say it's an insignificant tree, but it isn't really complementing all the other oak trees.
So are you done with your presentation, please? Or not? If not, please go ahead.
You know, I just want to say I appreciate all of you coming out today. I think that's really helpful. We're trying to propose a landscape which is going to continue the existing landscape there. We've looked really carefully at all the amount of hardscape, and really the increased hardscape comes from the new driveway, but that has obviously more area to it. But everything else is really tight as far as just some guest parking, backup space, and then paving in front of the garage. We've also minimized the paving around the really beautiful oak tree right there at the entry, sort of scooted the driveway over from its existing condition. You can see the driveway there. There's the tree to give it more breathing room and to protect it.
And regarding sort of the architecture of the building, do you see how the original core of the building where the kitchen is and that opens to the breakfast room forms really the width of that courtyard, which is created by the addition, which then plays to the dining pavilion beyond. So it's really difficult to modify the design of the building in any way to mitigate the tree. So I think this approach to doing it by protective measures is probably our only real choice to save that tree.
Jennifer, you read a paragraph from the historical report. So to me, before the other members showed up. So basically what that historical report says is, you know what? There's a what, can we go back to that, please? There's a really great east elevation, which is at the bottom of the page, and a south elevation, which is on the left-hand side. And those are the architecturally significant elements of this building. And you have that paragraph? Yeah, that's right. And then, and I queried her and said, but this, isn't it going to be overpowered by the rest? So post Hazel team did a report, and I'd just like to get that read into the record, which is why I'm asking for it. Well, because I don't think everybody understood it, and it seemed to me from the beginning of that report, it said this is a very important building.
Oh, okay.
And I
Yeah,
was
no, just-
expecting
yeah.
them to say, therefore they can't do it. Okay, so let's ask questions while Jennifer's looking for that. So questions, Tip, please.
Yeah, so you know, when we were at site today, one of the questions I have is that do you have to remove and rework the wall on the east side to give more back out room for the new garage?
Yes, we do. The existing wall is sort of right in that area. And we're basically building a new set of walls here. We've stepped those walls to sort of terrace them down to minimize the height and sort of keep them more as landscape walls as opposed to a huge retaining wall. In our first application, we actually had a higher wall there, and subsequently we've reduced those down and stepped them.
So what would be the new height for the walls?
The walls range basically
We have a
from.
section of that.
Do you wanna,
PDF page.
So their walls are 4 feet, 5 foot, and 6 feet.
And what is the distance, the backup distance that you provided for the new garage?
I believe it's 28 feet.
Clear? Okay, thank you.
Elida, please, questions?
I'm curious as to what the discussions were that between the owners and you all about the difference of the architecture of this building. And I know we're going to be getting to the new dwelling that's going to be built. But one is a wonderful Santa Barbara Mediterranean architecture, and the new building, though it's in number 2, the discussion must have had in relationship to the existing building. About one is old Montecito, the other one is new contemporary. What was that discussion?
Well, they are separate properties. The client has a keen interest in contemporary architecture. And I think in some ways, the two do it in a way complement each other in an interesting, dialectic there. But as you saw today at the property, there is, there is quite a garden-like buffer between the two. And it feels like these can stand independent.
I'd still like to add that in our discussions with the owner, they love the original house, but it's very enclosed and there's very limited windows. When you're inside the house, you really feel like you're in a very interior space. And their request was, we want to live in the garden in the guest house. And so that glass volume was basically trying to, I don't want to say give them another experience than the original main house. It's very enclosed, but they have a glass pavilion so they can actually live in the garden.
Thank you.
Robert,
No questions.
Claire. You currently have an FAR of 128. You're starting at 75 and we're killing a tree. Why can't that house be brought down a little bit and save that tree, reconfigure it so it's not this long singular mass? Maybe it's got a little bit of an L shape or a bump or something like that at some point, so that you could pull that, the west, is that what it is? The west end of that building back just enough to save that tree. Why can't that happen, please?
Well, I mean, I'm not an arborist, but that tree to me feels like what I would call, what we run into this a lot, a hazard tree. It's asymmetrical. It's almost entirely weighted on one side only. There are no significant growth to one side at all. And it seems like it's maybe a precarious tree. We've been working very hard to get the program satisfied for our client, for what they would like to create. And I think we have been conservative and careful in terms of keeping the footprint in such a way that only one tree is, being impacted. But
Um, I personally have no problem with the design or all of it. And I have no problem removing both of the trees that I see no reason to save those
Is
trees.
that a
In,
question or a comment?
well, I'm just making a comment to the question, and so for me, you brought up changing how the building was being designed and made to save a tree that, in my opinion, needs to go away.
Okay, so let's try to keep questions during questions. So, anybody else, any other questions, please? Okay, public, do you have that?
I found the
Okay,
paragraph.
very good. Do you want to
And-
just quickly read it in, please?
Sure. It says the additions would increase the size of the house with wings built off the rear of the house and the north end of the east elevation. These additions have been modulated to retain the visual and spatial dominance of the main section of the entry facade and the south elevation, which are the most significant sides of the house. The employment of larger windows for the stair hall on the east elevation is acceptable because these design features visually distinguish new construction from the original part of the house while maintaining a traditional grid pattern for new windows. The arcaded and trebiated porticos proposed for the west elevation meet this standard because they employ design motifs characteristic of the Spanish colonial revival style. Therefore, the proposed alterations to the existing house meet standard 9.
Very
And
good.
I just wanted a quick comment on that tree that's in question. It is listed in fair condition versus good condition compared to the other trees.
Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 1? 935 Mariposa Lane, please.
No requests.
Okay, comments, please. Back in the same order. Tip, they're on for concept today. What's your comments, please?
I guess there's another comment I was asking the site visit about the FAR. You said the 1.2
1.28.
and do we have FAR study for this project? Did we?
Yeah, there was a reasonable justification. Wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad either.
I see, okay, because everything around that neighborhood is.
Yeah, it wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad.
Well, I mean, I really appreciate the effort, try to save one oak tree, which is, I think, it's always unfortunate we have to remove beautiful oak trees, which been around for so long, even though we have a lot of them around here. And but so for me, it's always kind of thing, if we can work with the trees, it's always better for everyone. And seeing the tree today, they're not the best of the best, but they don't look like they're dying, in my opinion. Like everything is. So I mean, one tree I think is fine. The other one, you had to cut it down, right? To accommodate the design. Is it because the wing hang out too far?
The tree at the end of the master
right.
bedroom. Not one we needed to cut down for design, but I think we would have cut it down anyway or wanted to remove it just because I think it's a dangerous tree.
Tip, it's right
And-
out here.
No, that's the one that they are cutting it down, the upper one, upper right.
This one we're gonna keep now.
Yeah.
That one is
And we're gonna sort of mitigate around it. We'll show you our mitigation. The tree down here in the driveway, we are removing, and it wasn't really a significant tree. And this is the tree that I think I'm worried about it falling over. And so I think.
So it's just a question, if you, the extension of that wing, if you reduce that wing by 10 feet, would the tree be safe or should it be removed no matter what?
I think for
Just-
safety, it should be removed.
Should be removed. Okay, so those are, and I like the architecture. I think it's nice. It seemed to go well with the site. So I don't have a problem with the proposed addition to the house.
A lighter, please.
Well, to start with, they're extraordinary gardens. I mean, you're so lucky to have a site like this. And I want to ring in on on the side of the tree, the one, if you can do what you want to do architecturally by taking a limo. This tree's been there longer than we have on the planet, and it deserves the respect and it deserves to be saved. I wouldn't discount it as a not particularly attractive tree because it's not completely symmetrical. And secondly, it appears that the majority of the garden is long existing. It may be not as thirsty as other parts of the garden, particularly the lawn. And I think that you've said your client loves his garden and has been very water conscious, which is wonderful. It's just a lot of lawn. But beyond that, I will fight as hard as I can for that oak. So I hope you can do what you need to do just by taking a limo from not removing that one tree.
And the other tree, please.
The two other trees, they're not as magnificent. They're one long trunk with some limbs, few limbs here. Those two, though I don't care to see them go. This one needs to stay.
Are you done? Robert, please.
Focusing on the architecture, you know, it's becoming a pretty large home. And I know the vernacular of the 20s is what the whole design is about, but it becomes a little bit monotonous. And I hope when you get to the detailing phase, maybe you can introduce more architecture, more architectural detail in some of these additions. That giant cove that wraps around the whole house becomes somewhat monotonous to me. And the color of the house it's so white and so bright, you know, maybe a different choice there would help too. But in general, I think it looks good. Not convinced why we need the new driveway. I'd like to see hammerheads laid out in the motor court for the fire department, if that's truly what the new drive is about, or is it just about having a more formal entrance? I mean, hate to see a tree lost there, although that one tree for the new drive, I think, is not a really specimen tree. But in general, I think the project is well done. That's it.
Claire, please.
Well, I did have one question before I say what I had to say. Is in the plans, is there, and I couldn't find them, so that's why I'm asking. The new location of the entrance, right now, that's got a utility gate over it. Do we have a design for, or do we know what the new gate is going to look like? Yeah, no, I didn't have, I mean, I kind of went through the plans when I got home, but I couldn't quite find that, you know.
Yes, there's a drawing for the gates.
There is a drawing of what's going to, okay, so you keep looking for that and then I'll go
Okay, it's
ahead.
in the set.
You're
Right.
replicating the existing gate more or less, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so
We're replicating the utility gate, that thing, that utility gate is ugly, so I mean, that's why I'm
The main
asking.
entry gate.
Yeah, the main entry, so you're taking the main entrance gate at where it exists and we're re-replicating that. Okay, fine.
Correct.
That's what okay. So, just for the rest of the board, I'm making a statement because I did, at the end of our site visit, I had sort of asked the landscape architect if he could walk me around the entire property. Because for me, it really is very Montecito, very historic. And so I did that. I spent another 45 minutes walking the property. And it is really a magnificent piece of property. And what the landscape people have done in maintaining this, the whole look of it, it's really going to be a beautiful project. And I really want to thank the owner for maintaining all of these little cubbies of, just beautiful, beautiful hedges and little hiding places in the garden. And this is actually why I have, given the number of oak trees that exist on this property, which is, and I told this to the landscape, I live on 3 acres, and I have a massive amounts of oak trees, and for me, losing 1 or 2 oak trees is not an issue for me, because there are so many oak trees, that it's almost impossible to actually grow some things under those oak trees, and they've done a great job of that. So for me, I'm not opposed to losing a couple of trees, like the one in the driveway. And I think the driveway, the new configuration of the driveway, really is very fitting for this 2-acre historical property. I mean, I really like that, and yeah, those were pretty much my comments. I think that the architect has done a masterful job of putting together the historic section and the new section and making them all blend together. And then I'll make my comments for the second project when we get to that project. So that was my take. I mean, it really, and thank you so much for letting, walking me through the garden, because that's my thing. And it's just exquisite.
I think Robert is kind of getting his hands around something here. What you have here is a U-shaped home, at least for a portion of it. I'd love to see an L-shaped home here, because you don't get that really small something or other that I guess you have a eating area out there. And my guess is it's not going to be used very well, because there are magnificent views just beyond that looking out, and it's not that much farther to get there from the kitchen. So it feels small for as large of a house as it is, because of its U-shapedness. I understand that with as large a project as you have, there are still constraints, oak trees and the slope and all that. I get it. Robert was talking about, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but monotony, was that? Yeah, the monotony of the design. And it doesn't feel that you've gotten everything out of this project that you might be able to. Now, you might not be able to because you're forced into it because of this and that, but it hasn't reached excellence yet. I think it's reached good, but I don't know that it's reached excellence. And I think that the U shape is what's causing that problem for me. That's number one. Number two, PDF 12, please. No, that's not it. Right there, right there. Okay, there's 8 drawings there. There's one right in the middle. I don't mean to be disrespectful here, but when I look at an arch like that, I think of Vermont Inn. and that really low slope. It does not feel like Montecito to me. It feels like Oxnard. So I'm wondering if you could, now the interior, what you're showing in terms of the space on the inside, but if there's a way to rethink that, maybe it is an accessory building, so I'm not sure how you're getting that much height in the first place. I think you're restricted to 18 feet. 16 plus 3, something. So that might be an issue as well, but there's something about that very flat arch, which when I looked through the drawings today, I just went, whoa. Okay. And then page PDF 19, I hope maybe it's 20 or something. I don't know. We'll see what happens when you type 19 in the next one down, please. Aha. So for some reason I'm off by 1. Those light fixtures on the bottom are beautiful, but I don't think they have anything to do with dark sky compliant. There are companies here in town that will custom make things that bury the fixture up inside the top, but those fixtures will not work, and I would like to ask you to do them. Okay. And Robert also brought up the color of it. We have not approved a building with an LRV of greater than 0.84 for a couple of years now. I think that the current building is within that spec. It looks like it. But we want to make sure it's toned down a little bit so that we're not creating this South Florida bright, hip, something or other. And so that it settles better. And then the last comment, there's a circular stair in the middle of the drawings, and quite frankly, I don't remember where that is. Can we try to find that in elevation, please? Do you know where that is, guys? Oh, well, there's an example of it right there.
Right there.
Next sheet down, right there, you're showing it. I think that stair belongs on the upper side, not this side. It's just, I think it's too plain. Oh. And I think that it just doesn't have sort of the Spanish character that one would expect. There's a circular, actually it's more of a winder. Do you know the difference between one? Yeah, it's more of a winder than this. And I think that a winder would do you better on this architecture, and it might need some kind of a rail cap, up at the top. And a lot of times they don't just come up and follow straight up. They'll have some swooping on the bottom. It doesn't feel like it's part of this project. Okay, big picture. I'm sorry to see the oak tree go. I understand Claire's comment. I have a lot of oak trees on my property, and comparatively, not this many by any means. And so losing one, I'm sorry to see it go, but I don't know that I would not vote for the project. The one with the limb, I think is all taken care of. The one at the driveway, okay. But the last one, I will be regretful to see that go. So I don't know what you do with these comments. Oh, the last thing is, I assume that you have some cut and fill on this, right? What are you going to do with that fill? Put it on the lawn out in the front and actually try to keep it on site? You're not going to put it under oak trees. You're not going to put it on top of those beautiful boxwoods.
I think we should study that and come back in our next submission with it. I think the owner actually likes the lawn to sort of sloping down because it makes the landscape feel continuous. We've talked about terracing it at various points, but there's a tendency to cut the view line so you can't see what's below it. And so I don't think they're as concerned about flat usable areas. There are other areas that they use. I think maybe down at more the base of the site where some of the fruit trees are in the orchard, we might be able to deposit some of it down there. So let us look for options.
Okay, very good. We are, even though we had 283% of normal rain this year, chances are it's a one-off. So, okay, very good. Anything else? Okay, so what do we want? Claire. So what do we want to do? We're on for concept. Do we want to push this to preliminary? Are we ready for that? Do we need something else, please?
Yeah, I think we are ready to push this on to preliminary approval to the full board next time.
Okay,
That's what I was gonna say too.
we have the option to do preliminary final. It's too big of a project, I think, to do both of those in one step. So chances are, if you give us good representative details, we'll push you onto the consent calendar and try to keep things simple, but only if we really get a good solid understanding of where you're going, not complete, but a good understanding, okay? Anything else, please? There is nothing, no motion, so we are on to item number 2, please. Same team. We don't have an address for it, but it's on Mariposa Lane. The floor is yours.
Well, we made, let's bring that up. Let's bring up the site plan. One of the comments was the adjacency of the building to the oak. I think it was number 4 right there. And we ended up pushing the building back 6 or 7 feet to mitigate that impact on that oak. We also, yeah.
There are also some changes made. This whole space was skylight last time, and now it's a conventional roof. And so we've really eliminated glazing, and I think that helps with all the night skies and sustainability and everything else. The parapet around the building has also been simplified. There were some questions last time about was it sort of a little mansard roof or not, and that's sort of been eliminated. So it's really just a cleaner blade, and it doesn't have that dual reading.
We also included inspirational images with the presentation. There was a request for renderings, and we created 2 renderings of the building. One view was from the southern section, looking up at the back of the pool area. The other view is taken from the west.
David, can you get the renderings up, please, when you get them? Thank you.
Boards.
Yeah, let's have everybody joining us on the meeting also be able to see them.
So this view is looking to the north. And you can see the edge of the pool is that infinity edge at the lower part of the rendering. We made that what Mark is describing almost like a blade, that very clean line, and we took off the sloped edge. We simplified the glass connecting roof is now a solid connecting roof between the 2 stucco pavilions on the back. In the right, you can see the Santa Barbara sandstone garage with the Corten doors just on the just peeking around the corner there on the right.
Are you done?
And the next rendering is
Nope.
that's the view from the west. So you can see sort of that setting sun. You see the steps coming down from the upper level where the garage is. And it has, I think it has a nice simplistic sensibility that I don't think, in a sense works against its neighboring Spanish colonial house. It's has a certain neutrality to it. Thank you.
Are you done then, everybody? Questions, Robert?
Well, I have to say at first I was somewhat concerned about it versus the neighboring property, but you know, given the really hidden location of this site. And if it's a kind of a garden pavilion, it's probably the right idea to make it a completely different architecture. And the chimneys, why do we have two chimneys? Would be my only question.
We're in questions.
Well, the two chimneys, I mean, architecturally, they create these vertical lines. There's a sense of horizontality of the building. So the play of the two massings, I think, forms an anchor to the building. There's the simplicity to those which echoes the form of the pavilions behind. I think they're understated, and they do kind of create a compositional sensibility there. I would call it like an anchor.
Yeah, no more questions.
Claire, please. Claire, please. Questions?
Oh, on-site, Mr. Chung asked about the, was it the plate height or, yeah. What? Yeah, so I would, could you answer that question? Cause I didn't hear what the answer was, or,
Right, this was brought up at the last MBAR meeting we were at.
Do you have a
but,
section through there, please? Can you
we
help
do.
us
Yeah,
find
it's-
that?
It's 11 feet.
Do you have a
it's the-
section that we
yeah.
can look at, please?
so what, so it's 11 feet from top to bottom of that wall?
Correct.
Keep
That's
going,
the
David.
garage pavilion. Yeah, keep going down.
Right there.
There we go. So that's 11 feet from floor to ceiling
For the lower
for the
portion.
lower
And
portion.
the upper portion is how high, please?
I believe that's 9.
So the overall height of the whole project then is from ground to top.
So one other clarification about it is the entry level is basically a 10-foot plate height, and then you go down a few stairs into this volume. So last time we were here, it was all consistent. It was at the same height. This part was dropped down lower, also to kind of bring down the mass of the pool and that front wall to be closer to the grade. So that dimension right there is 10 feet. That dimension is 11.
Is 11.
Anything else, Claire? Chip, please, questions?
No questions.
Elida, please, questions?
No questions.
Have you guys done a heating count for this yet?
No.
Okay. And have you thought about the weight of the glass?
Yes, we have, and it is about to go into engineering, correct?
Well, I was thinking more about the ability of a human to slide the door.
Yeah, we've
way-
actually used these large doors on other projects, and it requires a bit of engineering, but properly and fabricated and installed, they just glide very easily.
Public comment, is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 2? It does not have an address, so it's been called 0 Mariposa Lane, please, anybody?
No requests.
Okay, comments, so we are on for concept today. Robert, please.
Well, again, and being on the site, I think it's going to be a good project, and I think not totally sold on parts of the detailing, but that can happen at the next level.
Do you want to
So,
give them a clue as to what you're talking about?
well, you know, the contemporary completely squared off, you know, parapets and things like that, that we noticed on some of the other items need to be carefully detailed and, you know, things like that. And, but we're at too early a stage to,
So it's an issue of
Okay.
detailing, it's not a detail, an issue of sort of like architectural articulation?
no,
Okay,
that's it.
Claire, please, question, comments? Claire?
I don't think I have any comments.
Chip?
Can you bring back the secondary rendering, David? Yeah, you know what, I keep looking at this and I looking at the site and it seemed to me the whole thing might be a foot or 2 feet too tall proportionally. And I want to know if you can try to work the proportion a little bit, you know, I like the clean simplicity of the building, but I just look at the massing of it and the scale of it, and it could be a little better proportion to go with the site. But other than that, I think this is a much better design than the first one, the previous one, which definitely we had no idea what it was. Which actually I didn't even recognize this project this time, but now remember the last one you did last time. So thank you for a much improved.
Can we see the rendering that's above this? Yeah, that one.
Okay. A lighter, please. Yes, a lighter, please.
No comment.
And I guess that leaves me, I think Tip's onto something here about the height. It looked tall. It was too short by 2 feet anyway. And I did walk up Mariposa. I guess Claire told me on site that she had driven down Mariposa when she came to the site. So she's on the wrong side of the car, you know. I walked up and took my daily exercise here. And so I couldn't see any of the start. Okay, nothing. There, that tree coverage is very heavy. But it still feels out of proportion. I think that you might be able to detail some of these windows and help bring it down by providing some kind of a head detail, although that changes the the articulation of it. Or you could drop it a foot or two. I think the building would actually be better, but I don't know if it's a deal killer. So back for, yes, Claire?
Are the two on the right and the left, are those, they occur as chimneys, but are they chimneys? The two small, you know, I'm not the architect here, as you can tell, but are those two?
No, those are actual chimneys, yes.
They are actual
There's a pair of fireplaces on the terrace, and there's one fireplace in the great room.
And do those chimneys, you know, by all
I mean,
code, have
they're-
to be that tall?
2 feet higher than the adjacent massing.
Okay,
Because
that's
they're
what
within 10
that's what I
feet.
remembered.
They
Okay.
are within 10 feet?
I believe they are.
Mhm. Okay, Robert Venturi, right? Anything else, please? Okay, when you come back, please make sure you've done your heating calcs. It's a lot of glass for this building. And it's residential, right? You don't get the commercial advantage, so, yeah. Okay, anything else? So preliminary, everybody okay with preliminary back the next time? Again, as much detailing, not all of it, but to give us a pretty good idea what's going on so that we can move you on from there. Anything else, anybody? Item number 3, if you see Bill Wolf going out, please let him know. Very good. So item number 3, we have an existing 5-acre parcel with an existing very large house. And they want to make some, in my opinion, comparatively minor revisions to the house. And then there's the landscaping to be dealt with. So Eva, are you here or somebody else to represent this project at 2500 East Valley Road?
Hi, yeah, I am here, but the architect and the landscape architect are also here and they'll be presenting for you.
Okay, excellent.
All right, good afternoon, members of the board. I'm Katie with Tim Barber Architects, and I'm here today, as Eva mentioned, with Eva, our land use consultant, and also Ian and Mark from the landscape architects team. So this is the correct PDF. The project site is an interior lot located within the more than 200-acre property of Rancho San Carlos. The proposed scope includes exterior renovation and select alteration work to the existing single-family residence completed by Reginald Johnson in 1932, as well as new hardscape and landscape. If you go to the next page, PDF 2, there are 2 buildings on this portion of the lot, the main residence and the detached garage. The goal of the project is to respectfully restore this home after a period of deferred maintenance for the owners to live in. In addition to the restoration, the proposed alterations include select window and door replacements and modification to the number of bays at the existing detached garage. There are no proposed additions and the existing footprint is to remain. And the team has been working closely with Tim and Pam of Post Hazeltine on all proposed work. So if we go to the next page, page 3. Then on this portion of the lot, there are 2 structures that are proposed for removal. Those are the existing kennels and shed, which are in disrepair. And Ian will speak more on the proposed landscape and hardscape later. And let's skip ahead to PDF page 9 to review the exterior elevations. The proposed alterations to the windows and doors are identified on both the existing and proposed elevations with green bubbles, as you can see. Most proposed alterations include replacement of existing window sashes or doors, for example, with replacement from solid to glazed doors to allow more opportunities to bring light into the home. And then I will point out a few other types of changes. So the first 2 elevations, 1 and 2, of the existing and proposed show the new proposed single exterior door opening at the existing west facade. The proposed work includes a new copper canopy structure with painted wrought iron supports to match existing canopies found on the home. And then elevations 3 and 4 just limit the work to window sash and door replacement. So if we go to the next sheet, elevations 1 and 2, so the top 2, show new French doors at the existing window locations on the 2nd floor, again, allowing more access to the adjacent outdoor space. And if we go on to the next sheet, elevations 3 and 4, which are on the bottom right-hand side, the 2 bottom elevations. They show the proposed door and transom and existing window opening off of the existing kitchen. So again, that's elevation 3, and then I scroll down, it's 4. And then let's go ahead and skip to page 13. Elevations 3 and 4, which are the top left and the bottom elevation, shows the proposed garage door modification from 5 to 3 bays. The new garage doors are to match the existing door style. And then elevation 3, at the bottom, also includes a new decorative chimney to conceal the required mechanical exhaust at the detached garage. And then the next 2 sheets provide more detail for the proposed brick openings, doors, and canopy structure, which are to match existing. And then if we jump over to the material board, that was PDF 07, Architectural Material Board, is a separate PDF
What is it labeled?
It should have been 07, so it doesn't look like it's on there.
No, it doesn't look like it got uploaded.
Is it basically the same, or are you guys repainting this thing, pink and?
Yeah,
polka dots?
you are absolutely correct. A lot of it is to be retained and restored where possible. So I think we are sharing a few exterior sconces, which we are taking inspiration from an existing library porch sconce, which does actually have obscure glass that conceals the ball for dark sky compliance. And then with that, Ian of Nelson Bearbolt's Landscape Architects will now share the alterations to the hardscape landscape elements.
Before Ian starts, David, would you like us to email you the two material boards that were included in the submittal, the landscape and the architecture one?
It's okay with me if it's okay with you.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that. What?
I'm just thinking of the mechanics.
Oh.
Of it. We'd have to come back to it at the end.
No, we'll pick it up at the next meeting. Color is not necessary on a concept review, please.
Okay.
So somebody's going to chat with us about the exterior.
Yes, for landscape. Thank you for navigating to that PDF. The plan on the right shows the gardens surrounding the main house, which we've worked closely with Tim Barber architects to restore and connect the series of garden rooms around the main house, and have worked very carefully within the framework of the existing topography and the existing spaces and walls that surround the house. It maintains the formal and geometric designs that contrast with the informal agricultural context of the larger site. For the landscape, the plant palette that you can see on the left is a mix of the native and drought tolerant species that reflect the Spanish and Mediterranean garden influences of Rancho San Carlos and the region. If you could go to the next slide, please. These are three sections showing the existing walls and the gardens. Section A is facing east, cutting through the west motor court. Section B in the middle and section C are both facing west, showing that grade change from the top of the page south to the bottom. Next page, please. These are two perspectives. The image on the left, view A, is facing north at the west motor court. And view B is in the central courtyard. These both reflect the coordination that we've had with Tim and Pam at Post Hazeltine. In the image on the left, I will draw your attention to the brick banding that Post Hazeltine asked us to include as a nod to the existing brick of the west motor court. Likewise, the image on the right shows the octagonal fountain that we've worked with Tim and Pam to have a new fountain in that same location, but that maintains the octagonal shape and shallow basin of the current fountain. Next slide, please. These next sheets are our materials plans. Won't go through all of the details, but again, seeing the brick banding and paving that we've worked through at the west motor court on the left side of the screen, and the other hardscape elements at the southwest corner of the house. Next slide, please. Here you're seeing more of the existing walls and terraces and gardens extending off the east portion of the house, working very closely to maintain those existing walls, stepping down in elevation, and really coordinating the alignments and connections with the architecture of the house and the proposed circulation through the garden rooms. Next, please. We'll skip ahead one more, please. And then here, looking at the north side of the house, the new design really sticks with and reimagines the language of low walls and terrace spaces that here again step up to work with the topography and reimagines the historic planting layers of cypress and clipped hedges and roses, again transitioning from that formal geometric spaces to more informal as we move away from the house. You'll see more of that on the next slide. The olive grove and alley extending northwards that connects to the existing olives on site. And then the next page zooms in to see a plan of the central courtyard with the octagonal fountain in the center that I mentioned previously. This is our mitigation plan, tree mitigation. And from here, if you'd mind going to the landscape lighting plan, please. So we have a mix of low voltage lights, including the stake lights that you see in the upper left image on along paths, the fully shielded step lights incorporated into the cheek walls at stairs, fully shielded tree mounted fixtures, moonlighting in trees, and then we have several dark sky compliant lanterns at the columns.
Let me ask you a question. We're going to get back to this, I'm sure. Is every green circle on the plan a tree light?
Those represent the trees with the lights in them. So not representing the quantity of fixtures, just trees that have moonlights in them.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And let's mark that page. I'm sure we're going to come back to it. Do you know where it is, David? Okay. Are you guys done then, please?
Yes.
A modest proposal. Questions, Bill, please. Welcome back.
Thank you, John. Yeah, quite a few questions here. A lot of cut shown there, 3380 cubic yards. Your sections that you show, I didn't see any existing grade lines. Was I not seeing that right? Did you do, here's what is existing and here, I'm trying to get a handle as to where all the grading is happening out here on this property.
We did not include that on those, the sections on L003. The two bottom sections, if you could mind flipping to that, please. The second sheet in this deck. The bottom two are existing, and I don't believe that there is any major grading in either of those. The section C at the top does have some slight regrading on the right side, the north side of that section, but we could include an existing section cut line when we come back.
Where is that 3380 cubic yards happening then?
Most of the regrading is happening on the north side of the house.
Are you sure that number is right? That's something like 300 truckloads. Did somebody add an extra zero on this calculation?
Because you have 500 cubic yards of fill, which.
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit because our planner asked the same question. We did have the civil go back and relook at that. And it's just because it's a large area that's being kind of reconfigured for these gardens. There's not a very steep cut or fill. It's just that it's, you know, several acres of area. So they did go back and relook at it and it does seem accurate, but it's generally going with the existing topography. So it won't seem, you know, like a very different graded area afterwards.
Yeah, so as Claire's asking too, and I am still questioning where exactly, if you could identify that area, or is it spread out all over the property? And then the second question, which ties into this, is the retaining walls. Are you adding new retaining walls, and how tall are those? How tall is the tallest? Are they under 3 feet? Are they over 5 or 6? Just wanting to get a handle on that.
All of the new retaining walls should be less than 4 feet tall.
Yeah. And where is the majority of the grading happening, or is it scattered?
Hey,
throughout?
Bill, can I suggest they didn't get it really fully done. This is the first time.
Yeah.
So we have
Haven't
seen
come back.
plans in the past where the blue areas are cut and the red areas are fill, or vice versa. So you kind of see a blob on the drawings that's either blue or red. And that gives us an immediate understanding of where it is. And then you might put the maximum height in there. for the next meeting. So
Yeah, and we do have that. We have prepared that for the planner, so we'll just make sure it gets uploaded to this folder
Are
for
there
the next one.
existing photos too? Did we see any existing photos? of that?
Yes, those should be in there as well.
I don't think I saw that. And,
They're a standalone PDF in the folder, should be. Oh, the civil plans are actually there. If you go to the civil sheets and you go to the last sheet, I believe that's where the grading.
oh,
So that's showing the existing and proposed contours.
it's a lot happening up to the north there, it looks like.
please don't ask us to be civil engineers. No,
I can look at that later. And then we go to that lighting. I know, put the landscape lighting. But what would you say your tree light quantities are? You said that each green means that each tree has a light, at least one, but you're saying maybe there are several in each of those trees. How many would you say tree lights do you have in them?
I believe it varies, but it's in the 2 to 3 range for most.
Per tree?
Correct.
And how far or close are you to neighbor? Is there an overall site map that kind of shows, I mean, it's a 200-acre site, right?
No, it's 5 acres.
5 acres. Where did I get 200?
It may be
So-
sort of a larger ranch.
Yeah, it's in the overall property is over 200 acres, but the specific lot that we're looking at is only 5 acres. And it's an interior lot.
And are you showing a neighborhood context, kind of neighboring buildings anywhere nearby?
They are relatively far away again, because this is an
Can you get
interior.
out to the
I don't,
internet? Can you do a Google map or one of the other mapping services?
Around and
Well, there are
possibility of-
smaller parcels surrounding this larger parcel, not this parcel, but the larger thing. Have you been on this property? Have you been on this property? But he's back, they're back up
Back
to the
way up.
north of.
Yeah, if you zoom out, all those orchards are part of the property. And if you keep zooming out, we'll show you where the house is.
Way up.
You're up in the upper left-hand corner there, right? Correct.
Correct.
So David, you see that upper left-hand corner, there's a, no, keep going.
Keep going.
Green patch on the left.
Keep
there.
going. I think it's right there, right?
Nope, keep going a little bit. Oh, yeah, right there. That down a little bit.
Down to the lower left. Right. Right there.
Use your
Yep,
laser.
you got it.
there you go.
I believe it's. This,
So for context, the reservoirs up top, those 3 blue areas, that's still the property. And then it goes all the way down to East Valley and all the way to Romero on the west.
Distances away from neighbors. Okay, that was all my questions.
okay, excellent. Claire, questions? Please.
You said that you have referred to a historical report. You've referred to a historical report in your presentation. Was that submitted at the same time that you submitted the application? It's really helpful, at least for me, that if this, for, moving forward, that we have the historical reports to review. And so that's what you didn't give it to the planner. Is that correct?
No, we did. We submitted it with everything.
Okay, that was all my question.
Tip, please, let us in on the secret.
It's, this house is actually very visible if you're coming down from Ortega Ridge. You can see it clearly. I think the whole Montecito will probably will see it. And first two questions. Number one is that I've seen that because I have seen a lot of construction on site already, so I assume you already started construction.
We, yeah, so we have pulled a permit for interior remodel. That is happening right now. We also have a re-roof permit where we're replacing the roof like for like, which ended up being a really good decision given the amount of rain that was experienced this year. And then there are several legal lots throughout the parcel. And so there has been work on other lots. We've pulled a permit to replace the bridge that was washed out during the debris flow. So there is a lot going on out there. Yes.
Yeah, so this is something that's just a question, but because it's so visible and with the amount of grading that proposed on site, I think I might propose a site visit.
Is that a question?
Yeah, just as a question to the board.
It sounds more like a comment.
No, can we have a site visit?
Can we have a
It's the
site visit?
question.
That's one of my comments.
Okay.
Thank you.
I love this board. Okay, so Robert, questions?
No questions.
Elida, questions?
I'm assuming there's no change to the footprint of this home, and it's really just doors and windows.
That's correct.
On the outside. Can we go to L 8.10?
Which deck was it in?
L 1.0. I'm having, oh,
Is that the right sheet? Elaine?
yeah, that's the right sheet. Have we seen this before? Is this the
No,
first
first
time?
time.
First
First time.
time? Then there are no actual photographs of the site, so we can get an idea of what the existing plantings are.
The photos apparently did not make it through no fault of the applicant.
And that's the end of my questions.
Eva.
Yes.
My reading is that this is a 5.02, I think it is, acre site in 5-acre zone. Is that correct?
Correct.
And do you know what the SRR 0.2 general plan designation means, please?
I think I don't know the exact math on it, but it correlates with the 5-acre zoning. It's like single something residence.
Do you know what it is? Or Kimberly, do you know what that general, because there's a group of larger parcels surrounded by many smaller parcels, particularly to the west. And I'm wondering about how this property might be viewed off into the future, please. That's the intent of the question. So
Well,
Kimberly.
I can answer that part if Kimberly wants to answer the SRR part.
Yes.
Go ahead, Eva.
Okay, so the property is held by one ownership. It is intended to be used as their home. You will see coming up, there will be a gatehouse and a pool house coming to you. Both of those will technically be permitted as single family homes because they're on their own separate legal lots. There are a number of legal lots in this. I think it's 280 acres, but the intent is all of it will be used by the family as their one estate.
But this piece of property is with this 25,000 plus or minus house is on 5 acres.
Exactly.
Very good. That's all the questions I have. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 3, 2500 East Valley Road, please?
No requests.
Okay, so comments, same order. If site visits, please, don't be shy. Bill, please.
Yes, I would have to agree with Tip. I think getting a better feel for the site would be critical here. I'm not quite getting what trees, even though there's a map there. How many trees, how much grading, where it's happening. I think we can look at the grading plan at the site there and say, well, we're going to cut here down 4 or 5 feet and it's going to grade here, but I'm sure that's got to affect some of the planting, certainly in the surrounding area. The fact that Tip's comment about visibility is important. I think I'd like to see the site. I don't have any problem with the remodeling to the residents. If that was all we were looking at today, I'd say A-okay. But I think the grading and the site work and the quantities seem kind of like we might want the site visit. And then secondly, the number of light fixtures, it has to be more specific, I think, as to the quantities in each tree. And we tend, as others will mention, that we tend to be kind of light on the tree lights. We're not trying to light up the sky in the neighborhood with lights in the trees. So I would limit those to as few as you possibly could deal with. And we would need quantities shown on the plans to be able to identify that number, as well as the numbers of lights you have everywhere, not just generally, here's a strip. I know you showed kind of a line and it was a colored line saying this is going to be lit, but we really want to see the number of fixtures identified on each line. So thank you.
Claire, please, comments?
Well, I'm kind of going along with Tip. Partly because this is a historical building and you said that in the beginning, and we haven't seen the historical report. So I'm not going to ask either staff, which is David, or Kimberly, to get a hold of the planner and have the planner, before you come back, put that historical report in our file so that we can review it prior to the meeting next time. And I do think a site visit for me would be great because I'm having trouble understand. I actually know this site. I've actually worked for the previous owners on this site. And so I'm not understanding what you're proposing exactly without seeing the site visit, especially when it comes to the grading. That was my partner here got a hold of me, but that was going to be my question, was where all of that dirt is going. And so those are my comments at this point. I would really like to see a site visit before I make any other more comments about the project as a whole. And I'd like to see the historical report.
Tip.
I have no further comment to add. I do agree with both Bill and Claire.
Robert.
No comments.
Elida.
In lieu of no photos of this, I have no sense of what this property looks like and how many existing trees and such. So I would agree with my friends about a site visit would be very helpful to all of us.
I love Richard Johnson, right? Work, isn't that his work, Katie? Reginald Johnson.
Reginald, yes.
He did the Biltmore amongst other things. Lovely project. I mean, I had no idea this building was out here. And I think you are doing a very modest upgrade to the building. I would consider it an upgrade. I assume the colors are going to be appropriate. And that's great. I would have loved to see the actual tile material before you guys went and did it. We had a Moody Sisters project that just decided to go out and get a re-roof and single-handedly changed the entire architectural style of the building, sort of unwittingly. And I'm not saying you would do that, but it would have been nice to see that so that we really got our hands on that to make sure that it's there, but chances are it is. I think the grading and the landscaping is by far and away the largest portion of the project, at least from a community standpoint of view. you may be redoing all the interiors. That's really none of our business. So I think a site visit is in order too. Eva, would you please take personal responsibility to contact the partner, the planner, maybe a couple of days before the next meeting and go over every single drawing that's in the file, have them look at what's actually in our Dropbox and make sure that we have everything, the historical reports, the photos, any civil engineering stuff, just there. For some reason, it's a little hard to always get it in there. And if you could do that, that'd be great.
John, I'm sorry, I've been chatting with the planner. He has the photos and he can share a screen if you would like to see them.
People, do you want it or since we're going out there? We're just gonna go on out there. So, okay, thank you. Incredible project.
There's one more thing, I think because as we mentioned about the amount of grading. And when they begin to do the work, I'm sure there'll be a lot of trucks going up and down East Valley Road. And I think as a board members, I think we should have a really clear understanding of what's going on. So people stop us and we know what we approve instead of say, well, because you can see from above, looking down, you can see the whole project. And then you see tractors, trucks, you would have a lot of comment from people wondering what's going on. And I think that's why it's important to have a fully, as a board, we know what's happening with the project.
So are you suggesting that they should minimize the number of trucks? So they've got about 2,800 trucks, 2,800 cubic yards, which is, well,
yeah, that's what I think.
And I think
no. In other words, we want to retain as much as possible on site.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that is the goal. It will all be spread over the existing orchards. There will be no fill leaving the site.
Okay, so could you clarify that with the civil, et cetera, before we get out there so we can see it, please?
Yes.
Excellent, thanks. Anything else before we go on, please? Thank you. Item number 4, 2698 Sycamore Canyon Road. Morad Poor, I hope I did not mash your name, Garage.
You did not. Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, if I could, I'm not as good at this as I should be. I'd like to read our previous comments. Plans need more detail and clarity. Applicant to work with planner to meet standard submittal requirements. Restudy proportions of structure, restudy roof overhang. Provide details on landscape screening, existing and proposed. So, Mr. Morapour, is that what?
Yes.
You're up, please.
Okay, great. Thank you. So as far as the details go, if you look at page PDF 2, it's showing the current landscape throughout the entire site. And the red area is the area that needs to be pretty much removed. It's already mostly gravel and a few vegetable raised planters there. And that's going to get removed and be replaced by the next page, PDF 3, with the proposed garage structure and a patio that will sit in front of the pool, as you can see, up and comes up to the grass. So basically, there is no, we're not getting rid of any landscaping, and we're not really adding any landscaping. The garage structure is just going to replace what's gravel, and again, as I said, some vegetable planters that are there. So one of the comments was about the roof overhang. Originally, we had the roof overhang above the patio be a little bit longer than the other 3 sides with some posts, and admittedly, that kind of looked awkward. So we eliminated all of that and made the roof basically consistent on all the size of the roof overhang, consistent on all 4 sides and consistent with the existing structure on the right, with basically the existing residence. Which is 3 feet. Okay, and then another comment was about I'm looking for the elevations. Going all the way to page 7, there was a comment about the plate height. Because one of the pictures that we actually, one of the photos had shown that the plate height may have been lower than what we have here. So we went through and measured the plate height. The plate height varies around the existing residence, anywhere between 8'6" to 10'4", and the lower plate height is because of the soffit that they had put in originally. So what we did was to match the plate height with the previous or existing, the garage that we converted to ADU had a plate height of about 9.5 feet. You can see the picture of that if you want to flip to the photos picture, and should be the last one. That shows, this is basically what used to be the garage that was replaced with an ADU. And the idea is that this new garage will basically match this look and feel.
Are you done there, sir?
Yeah, yes.
And for the board's edification, when you go to the FAR worksheet, 0.76, and if the ADU was counted, it'd be 0.95. It is not, but it would be 0.95. So, okay, questions, Robert?
Why is the garage door so tall and it's awkward next to that pair of French doors that are completely different height?
I mean, that's a standard garage door. I mean, garages are typically come in with that height. If that's an issue, that's easily addressable. There was no reason why the garage was made taller than the other doors. It was just that was a standard garage height.
It seems just proportional. Yeah, needs work. Go ahead.
Do you have any other questions, Robert? Tim, questions?
No questions.
Elida, please, questions.
David, can we go to the overall view of the property with the lawn and the pool? There. Is your landscaping primarily lawn?
Yes.
From an aesthetic, have you thought about maybe doing some beds in there?
Well, actually, let me correct that. Actually, if you look at the photo, the aerial photo,
Yeah,
you can
that's what I
probably
wanted to see.
see that better.
The aerial.
Yeah, you can see there's a lot. There is a planter area that's not shown in the where the lawn is there, but that's an existing. There's basically various plants that are there. So we didn't really want to mess with the landscaping, because actually the people we bought it from, they had just redone the landscaping. Like, for example, the front of the house was previously all lawn, and they had replaced it with gravel for to conserve water. So yeah, there's we personally like the landscaping as it is, because there's quite a bit of trees on the edges, on the sides, and around the house there's a lot of planters with plants around the main property.
Thank you. No more questions.
Bill, please.
Are the roof tile and the wall plaster going to match the main house? Is it smooth plaster on the residence?
The roof material, you mean?
Yes, a roof material and the.
Yeah, it's basically Spanish style. It's lightweight concrete, Spanish style lightweight concrete, and it's to match exactly.
And the plaster and color will match as well.
Absolutely, yes. That's noted, by the way, in the plans as well. Yes, 100% match.
Is that it, Bill? Claire, questions?
David, could you go back to the overhead? My question, is the hedge to the right of the driveway on your property or the neighbor's property?
That's on my property.
Oh, okay, that hedge. that
Yeah,
line.
so my property, you see on the right of the hedge, it's kind of brown. That we just actually, there's a fence there, so that my property ends where the brown starts.
Got it. Okay. That is. That's
So-
my only question.
And I have no questions. Public comment, item number 4. Would anybody like to address the board on 2698 Sycamore Canyon Road, please?
No request to speak.
Okay, comments, we are on for concept. What do we want to do with this project, please? Oh, I'm sorry, Robert.
Well, again, I'm concerned about the proportions of the garage. I think either the plate has to come down or the door height on the garage door has to come down, or maybe the French doors and windows have to go up. But it doesn't seem
Got the space between.
yeah, the space between the French door and the garage door is not enough.
Well, that
It's easily fixable, but I'm not really satisfied with it so far.
so can I address, so as far as the height of the garage goes, that's not a problem. I mean, that's, like I said, we can do a custom garage door that's that matches the height of the French doors. That so I get, that's not a problem. As far as the way the doors, the space, if you look at the interior, it's because of the way the interior, the garage has, the structure has an area where it's, there's a sitting area that's separated from the garage. And the doors is, one of the doors goes into the garage. The other door is the edge of where the sitting area starts. So so we're putting them that way, even though they don't go into the same space, so that they match the other French doors. That's the reason that it's looking like that. If you look in the interior, it's would be let's see, page 9 of the PDF. You can see why that's like that.
Could you flip the man door, so to speak, to the far right in this drawing? And
Oh, I see what you're saying. I have a single door on the for the, yeah,
Yes,
yeah, that's not a problem. Yeah.
but also, a normal garage door is 7 feet tall, and so is a normal French door. So I'm not sure exactly
That might have
where
been
the
a
bust is here, but
might have been a user error on my part. Because I as you have noted, I took on the task of doing this plan myself, so I can correct that for sure. I apologize for that.
The other option of that, Robert, or applicant, is going to 8 foot on the garage door and 8 foot on all the other doors, and 8 foot head height.
Correct. Correct. I mean, I can do either of those. Like I said, you're right. The garage door is not, as I think about it, was I chose the 8 foot door and a 7 foot I choose a 7-foot door and an 8-foot garage door, which was incorrect. But I can flip either to a, so you don't, it doesn't matter, right? As far as the look goes, you just want them to match.
Robert, that was,
Okay, perfect.
Well, again, I think also, you know, as Claire was noting, that garage door would be a lot better off if it could have more meat on the left and the right for structural as far and aesthetic reasons. And if you could move the man door around the corner, I mean, that I think you'd have a better looking project. But,
So, so basically it would place the garage door sort of not in the middle quite, but yeah, it moves it over closer to the pool, basically. Is that's what you're suggesting, right?
yeah, exactly.
Got it.
right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. Robert, anything else? Tim,
Well, I have nothing else to add.
Elida,
No comment.
Bill,
I agree with Robert.
Do we have a question?
no comments,
Oh, we're,
and it is now your turn.
my goodness. Okay. You know, one of the things that you're required to submit at the, you know, moving forward is the calculations of your water usage.
Not if they're not doing any landscaping.
What?
Not if they're not doing any landscaping.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's the end of my comments then, you know. You know, because I mean, whatever. So going back to so you're not proposing to change anything in the landscape whatsoever.
Right. Correct.
I mean, in the drawing, you show some little green things all over the place. What are those green circles?
Those are plants.
Represent?
Those are various plants. I mean, they're not exact because they're smaller plants all around the property.
New or are they old?
No, they're all existing.
They're all existing.
Correct.
Okay, that's all that's all.
We have larger projects, 25,312. We have smaller projects, 780. And I think we should deal with each of them appropriately. And I think that this is a very simple project. I think if we can get the head heights worked out, maybe get that garage door a little bit farther away from the man door in the side space. I think we need to just move this on. I don't think that this is anything more than that. So to that end, what would we like to do with it? I don't think it should come back for concept anymore. I think it should be preliminary. Should we come back?
We do preliminary final. Yeah, and use. If you think you can get the details.
And
the
you would be
applicant
willing
feel-
to take this on a little bit?
Yes.
Okay, so, sir, there is no vote at this point just because of the structure of the way we operate. The next time you come back, you're gonna be on the consent calendar, which is really small. It's right at the beginning of the meeting. Please try to create some regularity and some harmony in the drawings. I think evening out all of the doors around would help you. I think taking that one door and moving it around to the edge that's next to the garage door, moving that around to the other face would probably help you, but we don't want to slow you up at all. And if we could just see you at the consent calendar next time, that'd be great. You will need to bring in details. So if you don't know how to do that yourself, you might want to talk to your contractor and he or she may be able to help you.
Details of construction?
Yeah.
Oh, those are included already.
David, can you go down? Please.
Towards the end, they're all there.
Keep going. What do you guys think? Good enough?
And there's, the next one is the structural details.
Well, we don't have the fascia.
There's kind of a fish in there, right?
Yeah, are we okay with it? Yeah, I'd be okay with this.
All right, yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, right on the drawings, match existing. Could you do that, sir? Please.
Match existing for the materials, you mean?
Materials and details, please.
Will do. Excellent. Will
Okay,
do.
thank you very much. There is no vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're now.
I appreciate it.
5, Elida wants to recuse herself. It's the YMCA. There is a memo to us. And it basically says, guys, this was reviewed by you, then approved by the planning commission. And would you please focus all of your attention today just on the requirements that were triggered at the public works, which has to do with a light pole, some ADA cuts, widths of driveway, ADA, et cetera. So it should be fairly simple. Hopefully we can stay focused on that. Brian, you're up, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and MBAR members. Just a point of clarification, although we wish we had received our planning commission approval already, this hopefully is our last step in front of your body before we get to them in the coming month or two. So thank you. Yes, the project itself hasn't changed at all in any way. And these are the reason we're here today is to review the roads department conditions of approval before we go to the planning commission. So we've got that in the memo. We also have Chris here, our planner, to answer any questions, but I can summarize it really quickly. So there are basically 3 in frontage improvement that are standard conditions that transportation requires for discretionary projects. In our case here, these what we'll call frontage improvements include on the Santa Rosa side, which would be north, page left. And then the largest component would be on the San Ysidro side, so page down, that is site west. And the good news is we've since learned, you'll see on the drawings, we actually have 2 sheets there. The high voltage 66 kilovolt lines, those are community transmission lines. We have confirmed that those are preempted by federal law or something, that they don't have to be underground. If they're over like 35,000 or something, we're at 66. So the good news is we won't be required to do that. And all of the disruption to the trees and so forth. Now, the Planning Commission, as your board might remember from, I think it was the Montecito Sanitary District project, the Planning Commission does have discretion to either require, modify, or not require these frontage improvements. Of course, our hope is that any that they do require are practical. We don't believe that the San Ysidro improvements are practical or in keeping with the semi-rural character of Montecito. And from a safety standpoint, don't make a heck of a lot of sense because they would just put pedestrians at the end of our lot back onto the shoulder of the roadway, where we have a great and much loved path on the west side of San Ysidro. We have a crosswalk that gets you to the sidewalk in front of MUS, and then of course the path all the way down to Jameson. So it's your discretion, and your comments are for the Planning Commission, so we don't want to taint those. But we would hope that you would agree with us that especially the San Ysidro frontage improvements are impractical, and we hope that you would take that into account. Now, the San Ysidro items, the new improvements there are much more reasonable and would seem more in keeping with the semi-rural character. And we did learn from Will at Transportation that if the Planning Commission does require any kind of pathways, then we would have to provide the associated lighting with them. So we have included the lighting standards for those areas. I believe that summarizes it. Again, no changes to the project itself. We're hoping to get your comments so that Chris can get us back to Planning Commission, hopefully in the next 2 months. Oh, I will add that we do have the mitigated negative declaration for this project. The CEQA document just began its 30-day circulation. And so that is out there if anybody would like to review that. And so that's kind of our last item before we get to Planning Commission. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mark and Kevin from Design Arc. If they want to just quickly take you through the plan. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Hey, Brian, before you go.
Yes.
John, do you want to read the last minute of this document or
I
do
don't
those
know that it-
apply?
I don't think that, yeah, I
It
don't.
doesn't, because of the parking lot?
Well, there. I think the bottom line here is this sidewalk on San Ysidro.
It's
right?
basically the sidewalk. Yeah.
So the options are, let's go urban or let's stay rural. Isn't that it?
It's kind of it. If your recommendation to the Planning Commission is that it should remain as part of the project, then the Planning Commission is going to use that in their decision making. Alternatively, if you decide that it doesn't meet the semi-rural character of Montecito, that recommendation would also be, be taken into consideration by the Planning Commission.
Okay, so. Questions? Tip? Oh, I'm sorry, Mark and somebody, I'm not sure who it is. So if you could help clarify sort of what it is that you believe you think is best, and then what they're asking you to do, so we get a clear distinction here, please.
Okay, I'll speak up. This is Kevin Dumaine from Design Arc. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I think Brian summed up the key areas. I'll just try to add in some more detail. We, as a team, we would prefer not to do these. Most of these county sort of policy improvements. We don't feel it's appropriate for this particular area. But Santa Rosa Street may be considered certainly different than San Ysidro. I'll walk you through a few of the things that didn't get covered. So currently there is one street light on the corner of San Ysidro and Santa Rosa, right there at the crosswalk. So that one's in place. And what we would be adding is additional street lights at approximately 150 feet if we have the sidewalks that require them. Now along San Ysidro, whether we underground the power or just do the sidewalk improvements, what we're anticipating is that quite a few of these existing trees, combination of ukes, I think there's 2 oaks, a lot of those would have to be removed, and they have a real important value for sort of screening the property from the street. So that would unfortunately be kind of a negative impact of these public improvements. We are going to be planting quite a few trees on the slope too, but they're going to take time to mature. Then another aspect of the sidewalk is as you get to the towards the right of the drawing, maybe even the right half of that sidewalk, you have pretty good change in grade. So you're going to have a retaining wall there, and then as it gets over 30 inches of fall, you're going to have a guardrail as well. So it's a sidewalk plus a wall and a guardrail to consider.
And David, if you want to go, there's a second sheet that we've got some sections and oh, perfect. Thank you.
Right. So this kind of gives you sort of a scale of the impact. Some of the taller trees are out close to the street, and they would be impacted by these proposed changes. And then you see on the lower section, the kind of sort of the sidewalk and the guardrail that we would anticipate on sort of the southern half of the property. They'd be standard county streetlights. And let's see. And then we've also kind of illustrated how if we were to underground the power, it would displace all the current utilities that are in there. So currently, cable, telephone, and the power that serves the local neighborhood was all undergrounded a few decades ago. So a lot of that would have to be displaced in order to meet the requirements of the 20-foot easement. So could have potentially a pretty significant impact on the existing conditions there.
And again, we feel confident that that's not going to be required just based on, you know, the fact that they're over the 35,000 kilovolt or 35,000 kilovolt threshold. So we're while we have to include it because it was a roads condition, we're very confident that we're not going to be required to do that.
Yeah. Let's go back to the site plan. The previous sheet. And so we've talked about the sidewalk along San Ysidro, and what we propose is that it would be a DG sidewalk, similar to what's on the other side of the street. And then on Santa Rosa, you know, there's already a sidewalk that comes down the hill and crosses the bridge and goes to the entrance to the Y. So we would be talking about the second half of the property, you know, to the east. And it would be on those areas, we would be adding a sidewalk per this policy. Yeah. And there would be some impact on the trees there, and there would also be streetlights. And so that's pretty much the scope of what these changes would be. You know, they would certainly evolve as we get further into the design process.
And that's our presentation.
Thank you. Questions, Chip?
So if I fully understand, try to understand the proposal, you like to add, you like to propose a sidewalk with the retaining wall?
No,
some guardrail?
We'd like to not do any of it,
Not
Tip,
I don't want it.
to be honest.
Just a DG path.
Nothing.
We'd like to do nothing, you know, but that'll be up to the planning commission.
Right. But if the process leads us to having to provide a sidewalk, we would have to have a retaining wall. And then as it gets to be a greater change in grade, there would be a guardrail associated with it. And so that would come along with the sidewalk.
And lighting, because that would not be, they would not waive, we couldn't waive the lighting requirement. If a sidewalk was required, we would have to do the lighting.
But you know, as of now, you still can walk right on that side of the street. It's just soft gravel.
It's like a bike lane. It's really kind of the edge of the road. It's not there's not a pedestrian path, but you know, the intent there is that's why the safe path to school project, I can't remember what the name of the project was like 10 years ago. That's everybody's really directed across the street in front of MUS where there is a sidewalk, and then it leads to that DG path all the way down to Jameson. So that's our argument, is why wouldn't we just continue to have pedestrians access that way?
Yeah, but you happen to have any pictures with submittal?
Oh, no, we didn't do that, but perhaps if there's a street view, a Google Earth view, it'll be really clear when you see it. Thanks, David. Sorry, we didn't include photos. We didn't think about that.
Tip, this is Mark speaking, and to the rest of the board, thanks for hearing us today. This is probably the most unusual request that I've ever had in my career for an MBAR review. We're actually asking you to deny these or to make comments to suggest that you do not like these improvements to the street, which we don't like. We're not proposing to do these. We're being forced to by conditions from transportation.
So guys, I've loved today's meeting because we're doing all kinds of things out of order. So we're in questions. Please, can we stay with the order of the meeting? Chip, do you have any? Thank you for joining in, Mark.
Yep. And David, if you want to rotate it around, I think you'll be able to zoom in. So where you go kind of page screen up, you'll see Montecito Union School across the street. And that's, there's the school. And if you zoom up a little bit and you zoom now down, you should be able to spin it around and kind of see the street frontage.
Any more questions, please?
Can you do a street view? I'm just trying to have a better understanding of. Here we go.
The other side then first.
Yeah. Oh, so that's what it is right now. Okay.
Correct. And if you spin left, you'll see the sidewalk. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with it. There you go.
Sidewalk on the other side, then just okay.
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all.
Robert, questions?
Given the existing sidewalk and path on the MUS side, why is transportation even asking for this? I mean, you put time and effort into this proposal, which I'm not sure, is there a master plan of some sort?
Yeah,
Your end?
these are standard county roads condition, and we've been, dealing with transportation for like 18 months on this stuff, and it's an issue of just, these are their standards and they don't have individually the right to waive them. That's up to the decision maker.
Okay.
Questions, Claire?
No, I don't have any questions.
Bill, questions?
Is there room to do the DG bucket brigade kind of thing on that side even? Do you have, I mean, it looks like you have some slopes there as you get further down toward Jameson. Is there room for a DG path even? Like right in that area there where the driveway is going to be?
The problem is that the right of way, as is typical, and you guys understand as local architects, extends out, much further than the curb, existing. And so it would push out into that slope, if we had to put the path or the sidewalk or whatever to the furthest to the east of the right of way. It would start to get into retaining walls and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and if you tried to meander it onto the property and wind it through the trees, I mean, yeah, that would be a difficult task to do. And as you mentioned too, as you go further down on San Ysidro toward Jameson, it doesn't, there's nothing there, right? So you sidewalk to nowhere probably, huh?
That's correct.
Yeah. And as as they're proposing you do, the trees would obviously get impacted along that side, which is one of the things we were in favor of. And then on the Santa Rosa side though, you're okay with doing the sidewalks over there. Is that correct? You're in support.
It makes more sense, to be honest. I don't know if that's the right answer, but it's more practical there. There's room to do it, and there would be some tree impacts, but not to the extent they would be along San Ysidro.
And that connects, and the bridge has a sidewalk already on it.
Correct.
So that would connect that neighborhood over there.
Kind of completes that portion of the frontage. Correct.
Yeah, that's property. Yeah. Okay, that's all. Thanks.
And I have no questions. Public comment, item number 591, Santa Rosa Lane. Anybody please wants to address the board?
No request to speak.
Okay, so comments. Same order. Tip, please.
Well, since we have such a wide, nice sidewalk next to Montecito Union School, and it seems like that's a safe environment for a lot of kids to walk. I think that will complicate the situation when you have another sidewalk that takes you to nowhere. If you keep going down to the freeway 101. So I'm in favor of just keep it a little more green, lush, simple, the way we have it now, instead of going through the effort of adding major grading, retaining walls. And one thing I hate the most is the post railing. It's just really out of context. Thank you.
But Santa Rosa, you're okay with?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Are there any additional comments from board members, please? Do you agree with that, or do you need to say something else, Claire?
Yeah, well, I agree what he said, but I actually think that we shouldn't have sidewalks along Santa Rosa either.
Okay.
So I'm going back to the years ago when Montecito decided that it didn't want sidewalks in the community plan. That was what we did back then. We said no sidewalks. Now they've kind of encroached in different ways. So I don't think the sidewalk belongs on the Santa Rosa line or along San Ysidro. Okay, that's,
Okay,
that's
so
what that's my,
let's break this into two pieces. Anybody in favor of San Ysidro Road sidewalk, please? Anybody? No, unanimous. Okay. People would prefer on Santa Rosa sidewalks, raise your hand, please. And prefer no sidewalks. Okay, so could you record that as a straw vote, please?
So Kimberly, just for the record, that
Thank
was,
you.
that was 4 yeses and 1 no, that being Claire.
For
Santa
yes
Rosa.
sidewalks, for
Santa
1 no.
Rosa, many of us believe the sidewalk on Santa Rosa makes sense. Claire does not. All of us feel that a sidewalk on the east side of San Ysidro is not a good idea.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I hate to admit this, but chapter 11 has snuck into my reasoning to vote for it on Santa Rosa. Any of you people that know what I'm talking about, and the others you don't want to know. Okay, thank you very much. Did you get what you need, Brian?
We got it. Thank you all very much.
So item number 6, 596 Picacho Lane. Somebody from Becker Studios here?
Yeah, John Darrell Becker.
Okay, hey Daryl, how are you?
I'm
Okay,
doing really
so
well.
we looked at the west side of this property and gave you final approval maybe a month ago. So what are you doing here? Something about the basin? It's unclear to me what you're doing.
Correct. So I'm here today with Derek Eichelberger. This is essentially, well, because it's 3 parcels comprised of 596, 592, and 588 Picacho down this interior long lane and interior lot. This project is essentially a landscape project. We are editing the pond. If you'll recall, we had a leak in the pond, plus we wanted to shrink the size of the pond. A portion of the pond was on the 588 parcel. I'm sorry, 588 and 592 parcel. And the remaining part is 596. So we have a separate application specifically to edit the pond and to landscape the property. And that's what this application is about. There are no proposed changes to the house or the garage on site. This is purely a landscape hardscape project.
And just to interrupt really quickly, John, this was the one where we had the update to the project description.
Oh, okay. So what happened with that, please?
So for the cut, that should be 420.
Correct. Yeah, so the net cubic yards of fill is 410 related to the parcel, and most of that's related to the reconfiguration and shrinking of the pond.
Make that bigger.
Derek, you're on board now?
Yes, I am.
You're up, I think.
All right, Derek, do you want to go ahead and start presentation?
Sure, let's go to the LP1. Hey, John, for the record, you've been really hard to hear all day today.
I'll speak up. I'm right here.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you. I'll take that into account, Derek. Thank you. For the
What page was that again?
That's right, LP1. This is good. So this is, you guys remember the main house, which is on the other side of the match line to where you see the pond. So this is in the more or less the southeast corner of the residential lot. And the landscape is basically a continuation of the exact same landscaping that we were doing on the other side of this lot line. You can see sort of the checkered pattern that indicates turf. And then you should note there's 3 large trees existing in the upper left-hand top corner. There's a huge Italian stone pine. There's actually 2 of them. One's on the other parcel, but you can see it hanging over. And the one immediately to the right straight across. Keep going. There you go. That's another huge stone pine, and then between the two is a large California live oak. We are adding more California live oak in there. You can see some magnolias. You can see some I'm blanking, crepe myrtles, and you can see quite a few olive trees. I would indicate them, but I can't even read this. So, and then the planting is more or less the same as what we were presenting before, which is a Provençal style gray, green, white landscape. A lot of herbaceous and low gray shrubs mixed with plants with blue flowers. And there's one element you should note, which is there's a patio at the end of the pond that is on axes with the main living room doors. So this kind of forest that we're building is really a backdrop to the main view coming from the main residence. And it's also intended that we want to use as many trees as possible so that this guest house is primarily screened from the main house. So you really just feel the landscape, not necessarily the architecture. We have irrigation on subsequent plans. We meet our Muello calculations. And again, I just emphasize this is a continuation of the plan you already approved.
David, can you go out to Google Earth and look at this, please? So the property line is running left to right here, cutting sort of near where that little, it's kind of a figure eight, sort of in the middle, more or less.
Yeah, there was a dock there. You can see it in the pond.
Okay. So, okay. Are you done, Derek?
I am done.
Excellent. Questions from Elida, landscape. Questions, please.
No questions.
Oh, Claire, questions, please.
Where is the grading excuse me, where is the grading taking place?
It's primarily because of the pond. The pond that was there, we have reduced the size of it by about 1/3. So subsequently, we end up needing to fill parts of the pond that
Got it.
previously were water.
That's okay. That's what I didn't understand where that was coming from. Okay, that's it.
Robert, please, questions.
No questions.
Bill, please.
Derek, are you changing any of the pathways? Are those all new that are kind of winding through the
Yeah.
oaks? And...
All the pathways are new.
Okay, and is there grading involved with that? Or are they pretty much?
It's minor. It's just, we're
like...
doing a master grading process and then just cutting the paths in as we go.
And what is the materials like?
Decomposed granite.
Oh, and that one that kind of cuts like under the canopy of the large oak, and that the light colored one there. Is that also?
That's DG, and that's actually, there was a path generally in that area, but it's been in this will be a slight deviation.
And just to clarify, originally the numbers for cut and fill were different, but now you're at 420. It's 420 cut and 410 fill. So where's the cut happening? If you're filling the pond, are you cutting to create terraces or something like that? Am I missing something?
We were cutting the area. Yeah, we were cutting the area on the east side of the pond. Because the old pond actually had a big dam wall. And but to the right of that, there was some grading that we needed to adjust to get the grades.
Oh, there you go. There's a good map right there that shows cut and fill. Okay, got it. I see.
Yeah,
So
you can.
the cut really doesn't, you show cut in the pond and fill up. So you're making the pond deeper?
Yeah.
Is that right? You're making the pond deeper?
I'm sorry, Bill, I couldn't hear you.
I said, are you making the pond deeper? Because it shows a cut in the pond, or are those in reverse?
I think what has happened is that the grading engineer overestimated the depth of what needed to actually take place to make our pond. So while I think this is showing as cut, it's actually not. Because we have we already have quite a bit of soil out there.
Got it. Okay. All right. That was it. Thank you.
Okay.
Which item are we on? Tip? Have you?
No questions.
And I have no questions. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 6596 Picacho Lane, please?
No request to speak.
Thank you. Okay, close public comment. Does anybody have any concerns about this? I mean, I hate to short circuit.
None whatsoever.
Anybody?
Nope.
Preliminary, final on consent?
Yep.
Okay, there is no motion. Derek, the last time you worked on this, you did an excellent job of the construction documents for the other half. Do it again. We'll see it on consent, okay?
All right. Thank you
guys. Good job.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Item number 7, please. Bill is out. This is his project. And for those that didn't get a chance to review it, basically what has happened is that they have probably not done everything right that they should have. And so they need a garage. And they don't want a garage. And so they're asking us to review it to see whether or not we could support a modification. Okay. So who is here to represent? Joaquin, are you here? He is, he's got his hands up. He's presenting the project, hands up.
That's correct. Yeah, I'm presenting remotely.
Okay, excellent. So
Can I
did
interrupt just for a second? So I just want to clarify what you said. Is that this applicant doesn't want a garage, and so all we're going to say, whatever everyone will say, what they're saying is that we agree with the proposal of having no garage on site. Is that
they illegally converted the garage. They don't want to build another garage. And so that's what we're going to be left with. Is that right, Joaquin? I'm sorry to kind of short circuit it, but did I get that? Pretty much.
Yes, I'm sorry, John. You said that it was illegally converted. You ready for me to speak?
Yes, I'm just trying to summarize it a little bit. Please
Yes.
go ahead.
Yes, and you're right. And Claire, thank you for that question. Again, thank you for your time. My name is Joaquin Ornelas, and I'm presenting for Pacific Architects. And the request that we have before you is basically the request for a modification to allow the required 2 parking spaces that were supposed to be covered in a garage to be next to the existing uncovered parking space that is currently shown right here on the site plan where it says existing parking, but we will have 3 uncovered parking spaces there. It is an existing, when the homeowner purchases, they've been living in this condition for quite some time now, but it's just been recently brought up. And so we want to legalize this previous conversion and small storage addition. You see that different shade of gray that would be in the northeast quadrant of the garage that has a pair of doors, 2 sets of doors there. That's the 38 square foot addition that would be also being part of this project would be required to get that approved. And that's currently there as well. It's got the 2 sets of doors, and that's for storage space. If we could look at the first PDF that shows this property site plan in relationship with the map. There we go. That's a perfect picture. You could see here, you can see the 3 parking spaces I was referring to, and they will be a considerable distance from the required setback. And again, this is as the garage conversion and storage area. All of this is existing. It's just been brought forward to the homeowner, and we are going to request this modification. So I showed the gates as well at the top there and the driveway throat. And there are a photo sheet that we could refer to as well, but I first wanted to see this one. Oh, well, yeah, let's look at this one. So we are between these 2 homes, and at where the gate is shown here in the driveway, there's a very lush, thick vegetation off of Alston Road. And when we look at the photo sheet that's got all the photographs, you could see, which is there we go. So you see the photographs at the bottom. You could see the gate that's it's well set in from Alston Road, and it's this one photograph on the right, second row from the bottom, and you could see how many how dense the vegetation is. So really, that's there's a good one here where you can see so this is looking from within, and there's one car that shows where the 3 cars would be parking. So all the conditions are existing. So that basically shows we have the full set of working drawings. They have everything, all the details we need, but we are before you for conceptual. So I'd like to answer any questions you may have based on these drawings.
Okay, questions, Robert?
No questions.
Chip, questions?
No questions.
Claire, questions?
No question.
Elida?
No questions.
And I have no questions. I would like to comment to the board, the FAR as it sits there is 0.77. Okay, so public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 7, 1085 Alston Road, please?
No request to speak.
Okay, so what they're asking us to do, I think, is to make comments to the planning commission that would be supportive if we believe that, so that they could then go to the planning commission. Is that correct, David?
I defer, that's a planning issue. I defer to Kimberly on that. And unfortunately, the planner is not present today.
Kimberly, is that what you believe? Hello? Okay, we're gonna go with John's comment okay. So
apologies, I was on mute. I believe that for modifications, the board, the MBAR takes an action, not makes a recommendation. I can check the ordinance and get back to you.
But this is going to end up at the planning commission if we think this is okay, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so that's basically what we're doing, the exact procedure. So comments, back to you. Do you think this is okay or not? Robert, please.
My only comment, going forward, where does this leave us precedent wise if people want to convert their garages into ADUs and no longer have covered parking? And that's not really for the applicant, that's for us, but it's a question, comment I have.
So the bottom line is, do you believe this is a good idea or not? You know, it's kind of a binary, yes, no.
In this particular case, I think it's a case by case basis. I could support it.
Okay, Chip, please.
So is it a zoning requirement that you have cover parking?
Yes.
Two covered.
Two
and
covered.
one
Yes.
So that's why I had to go in front of the planning commission.
Right.
Okay, well, I thought that you don't have to, you just have to get out the setbacks and you are fine. But obviously not.
That's coastal commission that you're thinking about.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, this one, I really don't have any problem. Thank you.
Claire,
I can support the applicant's request to abandon the garage and replace it with 3 parking spaces, partly because you won't be able to see those cars from the street. So I'm okay with this proposal.
Elida, please.
I think Robert brings up an interesting point that we'll have to deal with at some point. But for now, I agree, this is fine.
So I'll be the lone nay. I believe it's a bad idea. I believe it is precedent setting. If it's good enough for this man or woman, I think it's good enough for the next man or woman. And I think that I have very much have disagreements with the state imposing their requirements where they can just blow off the zoning departments. And now they're beginning to have requirements that are even having housing in the middle of Santa Barbara without any parking. And this parking still needs to be done. And I think we need to do everything we can to maintain the semi-rural, low-intensity nature. And part of that is to have a garage space. There's plenty of room for a garage. They just don't want to go to the expense. And they can go to a carport. It does not need to be enclosed. It just needs to be covered. So I think it's a bad idea.
So John, didn't we ask you, would you, could this applicant build a carport? Where, over for 2 spaces, right where they're asking for the parking?
Yep.
Okay. Then I'm gonna revise my vote then. Thank you for hearing me. No, I mean, yeah, I'll go the other way then. I mean, I absolutely, there's room for a carport. Why do they want to, I mean, they should just build a carport.
May I make a comment?
Yes, please.
Yeah, and I think Claire brought up a good point previously when she did support it, was the parking is not visible. And I do understand, John, I'm 100% behind getting the parking covered the way it's supposed to, city of Santa Barbara, Montecito, everywhere. And this condition it's an existing condition, and I get that. But I think one of the key things is that the parking is not visible. But yes, a carport and or garage can fit there. But I'm presenting to you what we have right now.
Okay. So I now have 5 people. Elida, do you still maintain that this is okay as is, please? If it is, please speak up. Or do you think a carport is better? Or garage?
Jane, we're down to 4 now.
Robert, please.
No, I'm concerned about the precedent-setting nature of this, and so I would vote against this proposal.
Okay, and Chip, please.
Well, I'm personally, I'm never a friend of the carport in front of the house. So in this case, I'm fine with the way it is with conversion and no carport, and nobody see the cars. And I think it's not good for the applicants, but that's how they want it. It's a private, very private, and I think we should let them do it.
I'm going back. This way.
Okay, so we have 2 that would like to see, that cannot support this. And we have 2 that can't support it, and we have 1 abstention.
So the motion failed.
No, there's no motion. This is
Yeah,
gonna
but-
go to the planning commission, right?
Yes.
You're gonna have 2 people that are supportive of this, 2 people that are not supportive of it, and 1 person that abstains.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I just reviewed the findings and the MBAR needs to make a finding it needs to grant preliminary approval or deny the project before it can go to the planning commission. To take action on at a preliminary level for this modification, you don't make recommendations to the board. So the reporting the 2-2-1 will not work for this in this instance.
Okay, so members of the board, this is the deal. If everyone keeps their vote, 2 vote for it, it needs a majority, they don't have it. 2 vote against it, that kills the majority. So it's split, and therefore the motion would fail. And the 1 abstention doesn't count.
So just to clarify, this is not scheduled for preliminary today.
Okay, so very good. So we're not going to vote today. So we get to come back, and we get to think about it and come back, right? Okay. Is that
My
okay?
apologies.
Okay. And we don't do anything else today. David, thank you for sort of muddying the waters even farther.
We'll have to schedule that for, I guess, for further consensual / preliminary next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Kimberly, for explaining that. So everybody try to figure out what they want. Alston Road, can we try to figure out where on Alston this is, please?
I know exactly.
I don't. Can we
Well,
figure?
it's below.
David, can you put that up for? I think I know where it is, but I just, because I may drive by it. Okay, so it's on. And zoom out a little bit, please. So we can. Yeah. Where is it? Let's see what it's next to and everything. Keep going out, please. Okay, so Alston is right there. Okay. From Vaughn's, that's Hot Springs. Yeah, so you come up from Vaughn's on the lower left and then.
On Hot Springs, yeah.
Yeah, okay, Hot Springs, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all know where it is. If we get a chance to drive by it, we'll see this project again. That's it, right? No motions, anything? Okay,
Thank you all for your time.
thank you. Item number 8. Mark, you've been on all day. You have a detached accessory building and okay, this is our last item, acceptable project. It's the little yoga studio on this massively large project property up above East Mountain Drive on Hot Springs.
Yeah, way up.
Restudy layout relationship between art barn and storage building, consider creating an L-shaped configuration, more formal entrance to art barn. Return with landscape and exterior lighting plan, consider incorporating oak trees into the landscape plan, return with full details. You're just back for the yoga studio today, right, Mark?
No, yoga and the art barn and the accessory structure as well.
Okay. Yeah, please make your presentation.
You want to do it, Margaret?
I'm sorry, it's very hard to hear, John.
Yeah, okay, please make your presentation. I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Bruno.
Okay, good afternoon, distinguished members of the board, and good afternoon, Mrs. Kimberly McCarthy. I'm going to start with the art barn, and I also am using my notes. So at one point, the chair had mentioned the existing lamppost on the property, and we were asked to include this in this presentation. So on A004, which is, I don't know what number is in your slide package, but A004, we provided on the left a photo of the existing lamppost. And I understand that it's a little bit difficult to see, but you have to really look carefully on the site plan. We have provided a symbol called LP with a number 1. and it shows where the existing lampposts are. On the R barn, there is one nearby. If you look on the site plan on the right, the immediate site plan, it's easier to see that one is coming into focus a little bit more to the right. And there you go. You see the LP circle number 1. This is one of the lampposts. The other ones, you would have to look at the larger site plan, are around that open arm shaped great lawn south of the main house. And there are, I believe, 6 over there.
Yeah.
And that's it. Those are all the lampposts that are existing, and we're not planning to add anything else to that. The second comment I had, and I apologize if these are not in the order of the drawings, it was regarding the cowl wall system that is on top of the R barn that you can see on the roof plan on the right. So we worked with cowl wall and we added 2 sheets. Let me give you the numbers. A602.1 and A602. At A602, along with the details, there is a letter upper right that was provided by the cowl wall team talking about light pollution that would be coming from within the structures into the night sky. And basically what the letter says is that is negligent, because cowl wall filters the sunlight going in, but our light sources on the inside are all pointing down and they would be reflected by the concrete. So they cannot measure this, but they're saying it's negligible. There will be hardly any light pollution coming out of the cowl wall system. Furthermore, as we updated our landscape plan and our sections, we were able to depict exactly what's happening in terms of the landscape. If you go to A002, you can see existing site pictures that show what is essentially a flat site surrounded by oak trees. So all around this building, there will be mature tall trees, very densely arranged. So we don't think that any light is going to be seeable from this particular point on our project. The other comment that came was about the roof of the accessory building and its distance from the art barn. So we redesigned the roof to make it more interesting. You can see that on the sheet right below, A003. There are some perspective views. So there will be shot number 3 and 4. But if you look at our elevations of that particular building, which are on A301, you will see that we articulated the roof. You have to go the other way, yeah. A301, there you go. So there you can see clearly what we did with the roof. We did not change the distance between the 2 buildings because our intent is to hide that back accessory building and let the R barn be the piece that you see when you approach that particular point of the site. While we are on this sheet, there was another comment about the color of the building that I understand in our renderings, it looks whitish. But if you look on the keynotes number 7, that is the color of all our buildings on site, including the one that were previously approved as white and being changed to this earth color. I don't recall any other comment on this project, unless the board has something that I don't know.
Do you have finished details, please? Roof
Finish
sections.
details?
Yeah, roof section, store window, cupola, any of that?
So on our details, A600, we show the detail of the wainscot of the Santa Barbara stone, number 7, downspouts, number 8, and then we have that cornice up at the eave, number 9. We have steps details, we have the attic vent detail, and the roof is the same roof that we're doing on all the other accessory structures, as well as the main house. And those are the details that we have.
Okay. Are you done with your presentation, please?
For the art barn, yes.
Well, let's do it all, everything.
Sure. On the yoga studio, we had very few comments. The one that I wrote down was concerning the landscaping. So if you could look at page L100. It's the very last one, correct. On the far left, we are adding 2 oak trees. We're going to put in 36-inch boxes. And these are really meant to screen our yoga studio from that modern white house that is up on the hill across the way. South of the studio, we are planting natives, ceanothus and Facella ramosissima. And these are all native plants. They don't require any irrigation. And they're really meant to soften the meeting of our deck and the landscaping. There are numerous trees and oak trees all around the back of the property, and we're not touching any of those.
And so do you have another building or area, or is that it, please?
This is it. So it's the yoga studio and the art barn, which are 2 buildings.
Questions, Claire?
Well, there's 2 buildings that we're talking about today. There's the art barn and the other building. Is there any landscaping planned around the other building, not the one we see?
Yes, Claire, on the yoga.
An overall plan for all of this. You're right. Okay, so now in this one, are those trees or are those new?
The only 2 new trees are the crepe myrtles that are in front of the building, item number 2.
Got it.
And then we have some grass in the planters, number 3, to surround the entrance. All the dense trees around it are existing.
Okay, that's my question.
Jeff, questions, please.
No questions.
Robert, questions, please.
No questions.
Bill, questions, please.
Good. David, you go the overall site plan? Is there like a master site plan there? Just real quick. I'm just trying to determine what you really see from.
Nothing.
You're not going to see it from anywhere.
Oh, it's not visible from anywhere.
They're way up. There's no houses above it.
Yeah.
You can't see it side to side. Yeah. Is that it?
LRB color did you have listed there? It's a tan or something. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I'm guessing it's probably okay. And I didn't see window and door details. I don't know if you had those or not, but or the quadrifoil vent, did you have a molding around that too on elevation?
So we have
Details, I
some
guess.
details.
Yeah, some. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Bill?
No, that was it.
Elida, please, questions?
No question.
And I have no questions. Public comment. Item number 8, is there anybody that would like to address the board on 985 Hot Springs Road, please?
No request for this item.
Okay, so we are on for preliminary and final. Comments, Claire? Claire?
Well, no. If the rest of the board is satisfied with this as far as what's needed for final, if everybody's okay with this, then I would propose that we give it final,
Well, preliminary final,
preliminary and final.
okay?
Yeah.
Tip,
Yeah, I think this is pretty much isolated in the no man's land. And so I don't have much comment or concern.
Robert. Please,
Yeah, no comments.
Bill, please.
Yeah, I'd be willing to give it preliminary final, except in all fairness to others that have come through this board, I would say maybe a few more details like window and door. That might be all that we need. Window and door details, just to clarify that.
Elida. Please.
Just a quick comment about around the yoga studio, the new plantings that you're planning, you're saying we don't need irrigation. You'll need irrigation if you're gonna have new plantings, unless you're gonna hand water, but other than that.
Actually, you're correct. These are natives, and the owner has a full-time couple of gardeners on the property, or will have. They have full-time gardeners where they live now on a different site in Montecito. So if need be, this will be hand water. There's no irrigation here.
Wow, interesting. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, going with Bill, I have no problem with preliminary. I don't think this meets the standard of a final. I think that we could do it two ways. I think we could have Kimberly share with these people examples of projects that we have with better detailing. An excellent one would be on our consent calendar, the 635 Orchard Drive. You could just do that with a Zoom and see the various details that we normally get and expect. So we could either have them with the planner approve it or in consultation with me, or we could ask them to come back. But I think that we should have it so that we're fair to everybody in the same way. Those are my comments. What do people want to do? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that we're kind of, I think everybody's okay with preliminary. I'm not so sure about final. Sounds like more people are willing to just kind of let it rock and roll. I'm not. So what do we want to do? Please.
Why don't we can we give it final approval with them to come to submit something to you or I or Kimberly for final?
Yeah, we could do that.
That'd be fine.
Okay, so Kimberly, are you there?
I am there, and I am happy to work with they're experienced with this site and with our process. I think they shouldn't have any trouble getting additional details put together.
Okay, so you know the project I'm talking about, the modern house that came through today?
I do.
Okay, and that's just a project. I mean, it can be any project, but Martha, who is the architect on that, I thought did a good job of detailing. And I'm sure that Mark and Bruno can do it as well if we show them what it is we're looking for.
They're gonna need those for building department.
Yeah, okay, so what I hope we have is a motion for preliminary final with the applicant to work with the planner in consultation with the chairman or his designee on final details. Is that correct? Is that a good motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, is there any further discussion, please? And Mark and Bruno, do you understand what it is we're driving at here?
Well, Kimberly will go through it. Yeah, we do.
Okay, very good. Anything else from anybody, please? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? That's the last item. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
Bye.
John, just before, I have a question. Before we adjourn, so I've already received a request to reschedule the Rancho San Carlos project, so I may have missed it in the comments. But the planner was requesting that when it come back for review, in addition to the site visit, that it be scheduled for preliminary. Is that something that you are comfortable with? Or would you prefer it be further conceptual?
Okay.
I think the house is easy. I'm not so convinced about the land.
Which project? was that?
The 25,000 San Carlos, the Reginald Johnson house.
You
So
mean
if we-
the farm?
If we schedule it for preliminary, and they didn't get preliminary, they just wouldn't get preliminary.
Well, I think the bottom line here is, can they get into the building department, right? That's my guess.
Well, from their point of view, I mean, from our point of view, yes, but maybe they don't even know that. I mean,
I think that it's gonna take at least one more meeting for the landscape. But I thought they did an excellent job on the house. So,
We're giving them the benefit of the doubt, I guess, in their quality, so.
do
terms
we
of
want to
grading.
try preliminary and not grant it?
well, except I thought that what we had decided to do with that project is before we moved it forward, that we were gonna have a site visit.
Yeah, but after the site visit, could we have a preliminary vote is the question for, you're right, we're gonna have a site visit.
And at that point, at that, when we all come back from that hearing, then can't we at that point, we can vote for preliminary.
Right,
You know,
so
my concern is that, let's say, I mean, the house is fine, the landscaping, if we see the landscaping, we have a lot of issues, then it's almost like we're leading them down to the path of doing all the drawing for preliminary and we're asking you to change it. So it's a risky proposition on their part.
let me ask you a question before, or let me make a comment. I believe the house is basically in good shape. If the planner wants to chat with the architect and say, move it forward on your side, we're not convinced about the landscaping yet. It might be right, it might not, but there's a lot of stuff going on there, right? 35,000 yards. So that should keep them moving, I would think.
Well, I mean, what I don't understand, I mean, we can turn on that thing, I don't understand why the planner wants to move it to preliminary now. Why why can't we just, why, normally we do what we do. Why does all of a sudden she want to move it to preliminary?
My guess is that the applicant called and said, would you please help us? And she said, let me chat with the board. That's my guess.
I don't know. Because that's kind of, with like
There wasn't
that
any context
driveway
provided.
thing with the voting with that, you went with, okay, this is how we've done it in the past, and that's what now this is another option of that. And I'm not willing to do that. I think we need to do it by exactly how we do everything in the.
So,
And therefore, your conclusion is what? Put it on for preliminary or not?
No, go back to.
further concept,
Yeah.
and then if we like what they show, then we can give them preliminary final on consent at that point, if they want.
Yeah, they need to come back when we do the site visit, and at that point, we can decide whether to move it on.
So to Tip's point, we're not misleading them at this point.
Yeah, okay.
John, are you finished with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a.
Mark that here.
I was just going to ask, since this is a minor element that you want us to come back with, if it's okay with Kimberly and okay with you, may we just go ahead and work with Kimberly and not have to, bring this back up to you guys again, because you got a lot.
No, you're gonna work with Kimberly, and at a certain point, she's gonna email me or maybe Bill with your revisions.
Okay,
We're gonna chat with her about it and then rock and roll. You will not come back to the board for your project now.
okay, great.
You guys received preliminary and final approval.
They got preliminary final with the applicant to work with you to get the finished details finished up. And you're going to use 635 Orchard as an example to share with them.
That is correct, yes.
Okay,
Sounds good. Got it.
okay, is everybody okay here? Today's been, you know what it is? I think today's the new moon, actually, so maybe that's what it. And maybe Mercury went into retrograde, who knows? So is there a motion for adjournment here, please?
Thank you, John.
Thank you all.
I'll move.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Okay, all those in favor, please? Aye. And 408, we made it.
Yep.
Yeah, good.